it's been a terrible couple of days. So she thought, I'll avoid the stress of going to like the big hitters of British media and go to and do a round of local radio interviews on the various BBC stations. And honestly, this I don't know who's running her communications team right now, but they do need to be fired. This was I mean, she for someone who opposes nationalisation, she got publicly owned in every city in the country today, and that is quite something. So luckily, I was going to go. I had loads of the videos like bookmarked on Twitter, but thankfully the newscast put them all together for us on the BBC website. So
I mean, also, I mean, to be fair, Joe Politics did a super cut of all the best moments. If a 9-minute video is more preferable than an hour's worth, but it's up to you.
No, I want to see every excruciating moment because most of it's silence with her trying to desperately think of any answer. So I reckon we just go with that.
No problem.
Do this.
Fingers crossed for you. Fingers crossed for YouTube, not getting content ID'd by this. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Well, we'll see.
Which is starting in Birmingham this weekend. So we're now going to bring you the interviews that she did with BBC local radio in Leeds, Norfolk, Kent, Lancashire, Nottingham, Tees, Bristol and Stoke. It's really worth listening to.
Newscast from the BBC.
We will deliver, we will deliver, we will deliver.
Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah.
I've absolutely apologised for using the word scum.
Calm down.
Enough is enough.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Funnily enough, it was tractors I was looking at.
This is not the Russian People's War.
Oh, easy, son.
I am virtually out of tools to help people now.
Well, there's plenty of tools in Parliament,
Joining me
mate.
now is the Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Just pause it one sec.
How are you? How are you doing? Have you slept?
But like the best moment out of all of that, what was the thing that really made me laugh? The clip of Michael Gove saying "calm down" in a Scouse accent. That whole interview, like literally the point where the first thing when I heard that the mini budget had been announced, I sent my mum a clip of the bit at the start of that where Michael Gove goes "emergency budget," and I was like, yeah, that literally sums up everything.
Bro.
Well.
I have, thank you very much.
Good.
And it's great to be here on Radio Leeds.
I am really glad that you are here as well, because since Friday, since your Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget, the pound has dropped to a record low. The IMF has said that you should reevaluate your policies, and the Bank of England has had to spend £65 billion to prop up the markets because of what they describe as a material risk. Where have you been?
Oh, straight off. Where have you been?
Hiding in a fridge, most likely.
Oh, devastating. And it's the perfect. Literally, where the fuck have you been? The country has been crumbling for the last 4 days. You are the fucking Prime Minister, and you've just been just asleep at the wheel. You absolute prick. You fucking disgrace.
Yeah, she's been busy. Would you see the gif of her ringing a bell that then falls over onto her own face?
Yeah. She's shit at it. She's so shit at everything, frankly. But yeah, I think I've got it bookmarked somewhere. She's just fucking. By the way, did you see this safety escape? Fucking 6 cushions, ridiculous. Mark Allen's a legend. It's not relevant.
Incredible, amazing, love it.
Where are we? Oh, come on! I definitely bookmarked it. There's no way I didn't bookmark it. Fuck off. Oh, God knows. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, she tries to ring a bell and it falls over because everything she does is shit.
Well, I think we've got to remember the situation we were facing this winter. We were facing a situation where people could have had to pay energy bills of up to £6,000, where inflation was increasing, and where we were looking at an economic slowdown which would have had a huge impact right across the country, including in places like Leeds. So we had to take decisive action. And that's why we took action to make sure people aren't paying a typical fuel bill of more than £2,500.
Yeah.
Lies straight off the bat. Literally, every fact checker has said There is not a single family in the country who will have their prices capped at 2,500. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's just there's capped per unit, but based off the average usage of UK households, the cap would typically be £2,500. So if you are literally the average user, based upon the unit price cap, that's how much you would spend. So it's a really again, what she's doing is she's killing old people by saying that, because then they'll just put the heating on. And be like, oh, can't we charge more than £2,500? Yay! And then they'll just end up with no money.
If you don't kill the old people, you might get 3 seats. Just saying.
Exactly. Whichever ones have pensions left after all of this. Well, the best part is there's someone in your chat saying, "Oh, I'll have a nice easy ride on local radio stations." I'm like, well, they're literally the opposite if this is true. In that, and also again, another thing that the legacy journalists are just admitting freely, not realizing that it would actually spook people who are actually watching this shit for real, is that everybody who's like a mainstream journalist on like no matter where you go, right? These are all people who have leads, they have people who they are close with, who are close to government, right? The kind of people who go to the Spectator Garden Party, all those twats, right? All those bellends. And they cannot risk any of their sources or their leads or their connections being risked by them being kind of explicitly combative towards people of who have lots of power, like Liz Truss. Local radio DJs could not give a shit. They could not care less. Yeah. They have complete license to be as vicious as possible, and I'm glad that they have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't need to worry about access.
Yes, exactly.
Nick Ferrari relies on access. So he'll just be a fucking supine bootlicker.
Or even Nick Ferrari was like he told a Tory minister trying to defend the budget. He literally said, "Do you think my listeners are stupid?"
Yeah.
Or don't treat my listeners
the true answer would be yes. Yes, he does think that. But
and they are. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. True. But yeah, I actually saw Andrew Marr. Again, did I bookmark it? Surely. Oh God. Anyway, Andrew Marr absolutely unloaded on him. Well, as much as Andrew Marr does, but I can't fucking find it. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Whereas the average person who does like the breakfast show on fucking BBC Radio Stoke, they don't give a fuck. They're never going to talk to the Prime Minister again. Why would they care?
You're listening to Up with a Partridge. Aha! Except the other way around. Because it's the radio DJ who's smart and Liz Truss who is the embarrassing idiot from Little England.
Prime Minister, why are you feeding beef burgers to ducks?
Well, put them full of fat, they'll float better.
Really? No!
No, you complete cretin!
Chris Morris, legend. Let's go.
Incredible.
Yeah. That's going to come in this Saturday.
That was before the mini-budget, though, Prime Minister. I'm talking about the last 4 days. Where have you been? Because we've not heard from you in the last 4 days.
Well, I'm here today on Radio Leeds talking to you.
Brilliant. I'm so glad
you are. The point I'm making...
I love the sarcasm in that. Really, I'm glad you are. Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Like, God, what kind of answer is that? Well, I'm here talking to you. Yeah, and you're not saying anything. This isn't... What? Jesus Christ, she's bad at this. Fucking hell.
The point I'm making is that we had to take decisive action to help people through this winter and next winter. I understand that families are struggling with their fuel bills, and we had to take urgent action to get our economy growing, get Britain moving, and also deal with inflation. And of course, that means taking controversial and difficult decisions. But I'm prepared to do that as Prime Minister, because what's important to me is that we get our economy moving, we make sure that people are able to get through this winter, and we are prepared to do what it takes to make that happen.
Speaking of getting the economy moving, speaking of growth, how do you think your, controversial risk has gone?
Well, that's the thing is as
Well,
well,
what
like,
it has done is it has
and,
made
and her saying, well, I'm prepared to be unpopular and to, do things that, other people wouldn't do, and like, or do things that are kind of radical. I'm like, yeah, well, it's true. No one else thought of collapsing the entire economy. That's a thing that no one else has thought about doing before. So in one way, you're somehow some kind of maverick, really, aren't you, Liz? Who knows? It may pay off in the long term. We shall
Exactly.
see.
Politicians have always tried to be, not necessarily very successfully, they've always thought to themselves, what can I do that will make me popular? Liz Truss has gone, I need to do the exact opposite of that. What's the worst thing I can possibly do? She's nailed it. You know what?
100%.
A politician rarely achieves what they set out to do, and I think she has. In 3 weeks, it's very efficient. She can be very proud of herself, by which I mean, please resign, you fucking useless bag of shit.
I mean, what we actually want is her not to resign, and then the only way of removing her is either the 1922 committee submitting letters, which would be completely fucking hilarious. That would be like the absolute pinnacle of the banter timeline if she gets removed by her own party.
But
the
problem
into
is,
the job, yeah.
Exactly, but I'm thinking like, just even on a basis of just like country above everything, because with Johnson, you knew it was going to get bad, but you suspected there was a dark malevolence at the heart of things that was in control. Whereas, and that was Dominic Cummings, mostly, or Kerry fucking Underwood, or whatever her name is, Kerry Johnson. Whereas with Liz Truss, we are literally rudderless at this point. We've got, there's no one there. 4 days. She's been gone. She's just been sat in Dumbarton Downing Street taking a massive shit or something. I don't know what she's been doing.
Twiddling her thumbs.
But nothing. Literally nothing. So please resign. You're literally hurting the country. Stop it.
What there should be is a vote of no confidence, right? Like, if the Tory member, like members of Parliament, have any shred of integrity, which obviously they don't. We know that they don't. But if they did, theoretically, they would vote against this government in a vote of no confidence, right? To be able to immediately remove Truss and stop the mortgage fucking collapsing overnight or whatever when the interest rates go up. But obviously they don't. So they will vote with the government, and then you can use that next time. It's like literally people's mortgages were on the brink of being defaulted overnight. Millions of people across the country immediately being unable to pay their mortgage and having the houses repossessed by the banks. Right. This is literally what we're on the precipice of at the moment. I mean, this is no word of hyperbole. This could literally happen overnight. Millions of people immediately unable to pay their mortgages.
Yeah.
Who haven't got who haven't automatically fixed their rates in recently or whatever, because people are going to have to new rates might be coming up at some point. Also, April next year. Thank you for the subscription memories, Delta. And then, and so okay, brilliant. Well, if they don't have a backbone, which we obviously know that they vote with the government, next time there's an election, they're all losing their seats. Gone instantly. Anybody who's had their mortgage threatened by this government, who then lives in a seat with somebody who voted for the government who are doing it, gone instantly. Can't win. Done.
Yeah.
End of their career.
Yeah, Carrie Underwood is a country singer. I meant Carrie Simmons was her
That's the one.
maiden name. She's now Carrie Johnson because who doesn't like to Carrie Johnson? Heyo. Anyway, yes, I did see what you said. Non-binary superpowers. That is fucking crazy numbers. Although I am slightly less concerned about people who own hotels than I am about your average person. But I see the point you're making, and yeah, it's daylight robbery either way.
Made sure that people and businesses will be paying lower taxes. It's opened up new road projects, new infrastructure projects, which will mean that we can get on with doing the things that will help people, whether it's getting to work, setting up their own business, and growing the economy. And what it's done is made sure that businesses and people are protected from these very high fuel bills this winter. And let's remember why we're here.
Oh, it's a co-op. Well,
we're here because of Putin's appalling war in Ukraine. That's pushed up global energy prices. Countries are under pressure around the world. Currencies are under pressure around.
True, but none are as badly affected as ours. Because other governments went, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't just let the countries slide into the sea. Maybe we should stop this from happening.
Well, that's the thing is that literally she had it all sewn up like 2 weeks ago, right? Where she just committed to a little bit of extra borrowing whilst the yields were low, just to try and get people through the winter with these high gas bills, etc., etc. If you just left it there, instantly ahead in the polls, right? She was already polling ahead of Starmer as preferred prime minister at that point. She had it all. She had the golden carpet laid out for her, the red carpet, sorry, completely laid out. The Queen had just died. She got the dead Queen bounce, right? She was gonna be the prime minister who was helping Zelensky as the new during the Kharkiv push or whatever. Like, she had everything that she possibly had to go right, and then there was a policy that was sensible, not great, like they should have done a windfall tax, but I guess borrowing it with cheap gilts was a good thing for them to do at the time. And then she's instantly gone, no, all of this stuff, let's fuck it. Let's completely destroy all of this by doing the worst fiscal policy the country's ever seen, ever. Like, in its history, like, there's never been a worse fiscal policy than this, surely.
And I knew, well, possibly the return to the gold standard under Churchill. That was pretty bad. Anyway, let's not go into it. Right. I knew that this was going to go really badly, and I knew it was a fucking awful mini budget because Nigel Farage said it was the best budget he'd ever seen. That was enough for me. I knew straight away this is going to be a fucking disaster. Obviously,
yep.
everything Nigel Farage thinks is good will hurt Britain. Everything.
Every right-wing person, every character on the internet, right? All the fucking talking heads who get put on Newsnight and Times Radio and fucking GB News and all that shit. Like, literally 4 days ago, finally a Conservative budget. This is exactly what we believe in. Okay, what you believe in literally destroys the country.
Or the Conservative pricks coming out going, well, I don't think this Maloney character in Italy actually is a fascist. I agree with everything. Yeah,
Alison Pearson. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you should analyse why you agree with the person who likes Mussolini.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Also, fun factoid that I learned about this woman is that she comes from a party that was funded by NATO's Operation Gladio to exterminate communists in Italy. So we have NATO to thank for it. Yeah, exactly what we wanted.
Thanks, NATO.
Brilliant, wonderful.
Never knowingly done anything right. I was going to say, I mean, I have seen some takes in my time, and I quite liked this one. Where was it? I can't find the What? I'm sure Twitter is like de-bookmarking some of my shit. Someone was saying you're only comparing it to Mussolini because you're anti-Italian racists. Was the thing that someone said, and I just thought you are the dumbest human that's ever lived. Thank you.
I mean, if there's one good thing, if there's one like slightly silver lining to us getting that party essentially being being funded by NATO, is it means that she's one of the only far right governments that isn't in support of Putin. For now, obviously for now, which is crazy to think about. Like, just like every single policy had is bad, and it's like, yeah, but Putin's also bad. You agree on everything.
Right.
Apart from apparently invading Ukraine, which, quite frankly, of the fascists in the world, I will take one that doesn't invade Ukraine over one that does.
Well, did you see they got 95% vote in favour to join Russia? So, yay democracy. That's what I say.
You'd think after the 1995 presidential election, Russian oligarchs and higher ups would realise that if you want to rig an election, you make it close. People still try and tell you that the 95 Yeltsin victory was completely legitimate because it wasn't a 95% like wipeout like this shit is. We know this is fake. At least make it believable, and you'll trick people.
Yeah. Calling her Mussolini just because she's Italian is racist, says Alana Mastrangello. To which I say she's literally praised Mussolini several times.
Yeah, the party literally was born out of like Mussolini's party. Like they have there's a direct link between these two. Like girl bossing.
She's literally doing the girl bossing. If you're against Giorgia Meloni, who shattered a long-standing glass ceiling in Italy by becoming the country's first female PM, then you are for the patriarchy. Yes, woke fascism. Let's fucking go.
It's like it gives you an ice cream made of shit. Oh, what's this? Oh, I thought you liked ice cream. Yeah, I like ice cream that's not made of shit, thanks.
Oh, well, you should have said. Now you're being very picky.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
People.
fucking ice cream phobe over here.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important that this government took urgent action. And within a week of becoming Prime Minister, I took urgent action on the energy bills. We've taken urgent action through our fiscal statement, and we will continue to make sure that we are on the side of people who work hard, who do the right thing, and making sure that people aren't facing those very, very high energy costs.
Well, speaking of, what has actually happened, did you know that there was a risk of this happening, the pound dropping to a record low? Because at the moment, we're not seeing growth in the UK. We're seeing the pound dropping. We're seeing the IMF getting involved. We're seeing the Bank of England having to intervene.
So we're working very, very closely with the Bank of England, and it's important that we have an independent Bank of England. They're responsible for setting interest rates. And of course, the Chancellor and the Bank of England work closely together. We're facing very, very difficult economic times. We're facing that on a global level. I talked to a lot of my overseas counterparts about issues like energy, about making sure that we're dealing with those global economy. But the important thing is that the British government acted to make sure that people are protected from these high energy costs, to make sure we're getting the economy going. And of course, a lot of the measures that we've announced won't happen overnight. We won't see the growth come through overnight. But what's important is that we're putting this country on a better trajectory for the long term. But
how long will that take? Because at the moment there are people who can't wait. They can't wait for things to get better, to get worse before they get better.
Well, the fuel action, the action we've taken on fuel bills will start this weekend. And we acted quickly.
But that's in terms of what's going on with inflation, with what's going on with the economy at the moment. Is that not just a drop in the water?
The national insurance reductions will happen this autumn. That's why we had to take urgent action to make sure people aren't facing those higher national insurance bills. And the projects that we want to get on with, like the road projects, the broadband projects, the mobile projects,
funded
those
by
will be
what?
happening over the next year. So we're getting
funded. There's no money. You can't fund these things. You can't borrow more money because borrowing is now like incomprehensibly expensive in comparison to what it was previously. Well, I guess they could do PFIs all over again, but.
Well, I think she's going to take the incredibly innovative financial step of following a certain game franchise and start using bottle caps as a currency and pay for it in bottle caps. It worked in that game, so.
First of all, she's going to start a nuclear war, which, to be fair, if she thinks that it will keep her in power, it's within her own self-interest to do so. So, as far as objectivist moral precepts go, it doesn't matter if the world gets destroyed because she'll have stayed Prime Minister of the wreck of the UK.
Good. That's red, white, and blue Brexit.
things done as quickly as we can to get our economy moving, but also, most importantly, making sure we're supporting families and businesses through what is a very tough winter.
So I just want to tell you, because a lot of people have been getting in touch with us, Liz, about what they would ask you if they were here.
And many of them we cannot read out because the rules do not allow us to use that kind of language / threatening abuse. But the three that we can read out are also pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's lots of people in West Yorkshire who are struggling. Have a listen to Lee. We met him.
For a start, they're in West Yorkshire, the poor bastards. Relegated bitches.
A food bank here in West Yorkshire. This is what he had to say.
If it weren't for the food bank, I wouldn't be able to feed my children and myself. I'm just at the amount where I can't claim any help whatsoever. And then you get the small pay rises and then everything just goes up. Not only am I working harder than ever at work, prices of everything going up, as electric and gas bills are going to go through the roof soon. I have a wife who suffers with mental illness as it is, and it's quite hard. You try to cope on the outside, but I'm not really well, to be honest with you.
That's quite heartbreaking to listen to, Prime Minister. What would you say to people like Lee? And there are
She would say, beep boop, does not compute.
We'll just go like, literally, unironically, she'll probably just say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not my job. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Like there's that is that picture of Krusty when it's got like two. He's carrying a thing. Oh no, it's not Krusty. It's Lyle Vanley in The Simpsons with a suitcase. There's two Tahiti on it.
Yeah. Well, did you see the Tory economic advisor on Sky News going about I've no interest in equality?
Or Andrew Lillico.
Just literally came out and said it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously they don't care. Like it's not part of their moral. Yeah. It's a completely different moral paradigm than we exist in.
Yeah.
Lots of them listing in West Yorkshire right now.
Well, the issues that Lee raises, and is clearly very, very difficult for people. It's very difficult for Lee. But the issue he raises, like inflation, the package that we put forward on energy is going to reduce or likely to reduce inflation by up to 5%. The action we've taken on energy bills will mean that Lee and other people living in West Yorkshire aren't going to be facing energy bills of £6,000, which is what was forecast. They're going to be those through the energy price guarantee. The maximum will be £2,500, and the action we're taking on the
maximum will be. That's a lie.
That is a lie indeed. It's a lie. And also, I mean, she might be. I mean, she might be right that people won't be paying energy bills higher than £2,500 because they won't be paying any energy bills at all because you have to have a house to have any bills to be able to pay it, and no one's gonna have a fucking house anymore.
Exactly. Modern problems require modern solutions. No house, no heating bills.
Exactly. Make everybody homeless. No more gas. They don't have to buy gas off the wholesale market anymore. There you go. Problem solved.
Exactly. Well, I've said this before. When you die, right, you think, well, that's not great being dead. No taxation, no heating bills, no having to do washing.
Exactly.
Think about it.
The economy, to get the economy growing, is all about making sure that people have higher wages in the future, that we are getting the investment into places like West Yorkshire, that we are building those new roads, that we are helping businesses get on, so that we can have that higher wage economy. So this is exactly the reason we're doing what we're doing.
Honestly, she's so boring. I know. I'm sorry to have to pause every 5 seconds, but she's so boring. She's literally killing my soul. I can feel my soul escaping through my anus as she fucking talks.
Yeah,
my
like
life is ebbing away.
Like we thought we were getting like the yawn treatment from Angela Rayner's conference speech yesterday. Nothing. She is literally like fucking Gamal Abdel Nasser in comparison with her with the brevity of her speeches here. Like she's
dropped the Nasser on us. I'm not letting that pass for a second. That's an amazing reference. Love it.
I watch it. There's a great speech that he does where he mocks the members of the Muslim Brotherhood to try and get him to force women to wear hijabs.
I think I saw that. Yeah. He said, you can't get your one sister to wear one. You think I can get 40 million women in Egypt to wear them?
And there's a member of the audience when they said, I was speaking to the Muslim Brotherhood, they wanted everybody to wear, all the women to wear hijabs. And someone in the audience shouts, let him wear it! And they all burst out laughing and applauding. Perfect. Brilliant moment. What statesman.
Oh, this is an amazing meme. Oof. That is. Yikes. That is.
Oh, dear. Just what we wanted.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I would. I'm sorry. I just I know it's got her face, but what can I say? I'm a horny bastard.
I mean, they've really gone. They've really gone full, like, properly out there with the day collar on this one.
True.
Likely through this winter,
Prime Minister.
Also make sure that he has a secure future in the long term.
Thank you for being here. I don't know whether that answer will help Lee in the short term. I don't know whether that will give Lee any hope for the long term, but thank you for being here nonetheless. Prime Minister Liz Truss there, here with us on BBC Radio Leeds with me, Rima. I will have to let you go, Prime Minister. Lots of other local radio stations waiting to have their turn to ask some questions.
Live on BBC Radio Norfolk, the South West Norfolk MP, and Prime Minister Liz Truss. A very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Let me start by asking you about the financial turmoil we've seen since Friday. Are you still confident in your policy?
It's just every question is just a knife. It's amazing. They don't even have to say, your policy is shit, defend yourself. Just, how's it going? That's all you need to do. Because there's no way she can go. It's actually gone really well. I'm very pleased with how my prime ministership has started. because that's obviously ridiculous. That would be the equivalent of the Black Knight in not Life of Brian. Fuck's sake, the Holy Grail, where he's cut down into his arms and his legs, and he's just a stump on the floor. Come back here! I'll bite your ankles.
I mean, if this was me, my literal first question would literally have probably have been, "Will you, hi, Liz Truss, you still gonna be prime minister at Halloween?"
Yeah.
She might go. They've already apparently, or like, no confidence letters have already been submitted.
Yeah, I mean, and no wonder. It's literally, this is the worst the economy has been since Black Wednesday.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Which
yeah.
it's nothing to do with the Black Knight. That's a different thing. This was in the 90s. Who was in charge? Let me just check again. Oh yeah, the Tories were fucking to the economy again. Awesome.
And it was also rich people betting against the pound specifically. All this time, instead of it being Ode Capital Management, it was George Soros of all people.
Literally, yeah. That's the thing. The thing the right wing complained about with George Soros, which makes it funny, is things that he's not really like guilty of. He's not a secret cabal running the world because he's a secret lizard Jew boy. No, he's just a financial speculator piece of shit. Black Wednesday was a thing he made like £1 billion back when £1 billion was like a lot of money, whereas now it's like a 200 0.01% of fucking Jeff Bezos' earnings or whatever.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it's just like again, as far as if you're quasi-quarting on Liz Truss, based in red pilled, like that point, right? He's following his own self-interest. He if he shorts the pound, that's just the natural way that the market's supposed to work. And I'm like,
exactly.
If you're someone who's saving for a house, then tough shit.
Exactly. Look, the invisible hand of the market. Sometimes it shakes your hand, sometimes it gropes your genitals. You don't know. It can go either way. We must always bow down to the free hand of the market. It knows all. Here ends the party political broadcast on behalf of the Conservative Party.
I think we have to look at the situation we would be facing if the government hadn't acted. People were looking at fuel bills.
It would be shit, but it would be less shit if you hadn't acted. Literally. It would be better if you had not existed, Liz Truss.
But again, as I was saying before, I mean, like, if she'd have just done the energy plan and just left everything as is, no fiscal event, no mini budget, none of that shit, just gone, here's an energy plan, we're saving you on your energy bills, keep everything as is, brilliant, 20 points ahead, done, end of it, end of story. And she's gone, no, I would actually like to take that, you've offered me like the golden handshake, and I'm gonna walk off this cliff edge, actually.
There she is. Big and absolute bell end.
Bills of up to £6,000. Very, very high inflation and slowing economic growth. And that is why we had to act as a government. First of all, by making sure, and this will start on Saturday, that nobody is having to pay a typical fuel bill of more than £2,500. Also, but in doing that, we are making sure that we're curbing inflation by up to 5%, which will cut the amount people are having to pay. But also taking the action we needed to take to reduce the tax burden and get the economy going so that we can avoid the economic slowdown that was projected. And it's really important we took that action quickly. Of course, there are elements of controversy, as there always are, but my priority was making sure.
Elements of controversy is a phrase that's doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, but a little bit of a kerfuffle. It's just some teething problems.
Yeah, look, a bit of a hubbub.
Yeah.
Some
unforeseen circumstances.
It's like a bit of light turbulence. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just light turbulence. As the plane crashes.
Yeah, we're about to hit the side of a fucking mountain, Liz. Like,
yeah, well,
you could try and steer away from it. Even if we don't survive, at least you tried, Whereas at the moment, you're in the toilet having a shit and a fag. That's a cigarette in British slang.
Yeah. It's literally we are the fourth plane on 9/11, the one that crashed into the ground in Pennsylvania.
I thought we were doing a Hassan moment there. I thought we were going to go a bit far with it.
No, because at least the first 3 planes hit their intended target. We're just fucking crashing in the middle of nowhere.
Oh. Liz Truss is an incompetent Islamist terrorist.
It's 4 lines. What are you going to destroy, Wadge? Internet.
What is it? A martyr or a fucking jalfrezi? Amazing film. If you haven't seen Four Lions, go and see Four Lions. Also, that is whoever made this meme is the horny gulag for you. That is terrible. I mean, I'm obviously saving that, but you know, what can I say? Let's go.
Or that we were supporting the British people in what is going to be a very difficult winter,
but it's not
and a difficult time. And
it's not just controversy, though, is it? Because since Friday, the IMF, the Bank of England, the Bishop of Norwich, the RSPB, wildlife trusts across the country have all spoken out against various parts of the mini budget. Can you reassure our listeners that your judgment is better than those well-respected organisations and individuals I've just mentioned?
As Prime Minister, I have to do what I believe is right for the country and what is going to help move our country forward. And of course, there are many people with many different opinions, but what I think nobody is arguing.
But who thinks your plan is good?
Yeah, exactly.
It is obviously true that everyone has a different opinion, blah, blah, blah. But there's nobody who thinks your idea is a good idea that we should carry on with.
100%. I was literally, again, like Owen Jones literally they tweeted this out in that there was they didn't have to do this. The Tory party didn't even want to do this. There was no mandate for them to do this. It's literally just 2 people who've essentially been groomed into their positions by people like Policy Exchange and the Institute of Economic Affairs, right? They've wanted to use the entire British economy as their petri dish to play their little game of Monopoly with. And by doing so, with no mandate, with no support, with not even that much support within even the Conservative MPs. Remember, Rishi Sunak got more MPs endorsements than Liz Truss did during the leadership election. With no mandate for this whatsoever, they've engaged in their experiment and it's destroyed everything. That's it. We have been like the little fucking hamster in the wheel getting experimented on by like think tanks who do not they don't have to answer to anybody at all right now.
Yeah, exactly. Although to be fair, the IEA have essentially been Sir Keith's lifeline, because they've given him a fucking 30-point lead in the polls, which is ridiculous.
That's the other part.
Because he's done nothing.
Everyone's going to say, oh, well, this just proves that adhering to Blairism is what you do to win an election. I'm like, he literally could have just been an inanimate carbon rod, to get my 3rd Simpsons reference of the stream in nice and early. And he could have, literally, they would be just as far ahead in the polls at this point. I mean, to be fair, they're getting much better media coverage because he's not the jam man. Maybe that has like a little bit to do with it, just because, you know, of who he is rather than anything that he's done. But regardless, I mean, I think I posted this on Twitter, actually. There was this video of Andy Burnham being interviewed by Rivka Brown, and he was saying, you know, Blairism got it wrong, which is a pretty big thing to say for someone who essentially got his career out of Blairism, to say they got it wrong on public ownership and people's minds are changing over it, even if Starmer doesn't actually want to implement the policy. They could use this opportunity where the Tories have just completely fucked it to be more radical, and they're just not. And they're not doing. And they've announced nothing. I mean, as you said, like you watched the entire speech. What was it? 6 policies or something like that. Five and a half policies. So they've done nothing. Like that, yeah. They've just sat there and waited for the Conservatives to implode at this point.
Yeah. Well, they were. I mean, the anti-Jumbly Crumbly man's brigade were out on Twitter with the poll of 33 points ahead. See, the jam man could never have done this. Blah 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 blah. Well, because he was up against a vaguely competent leader for the most part. A government that actually could govern, albeit badly, they could govern.
And also, you have to think as well as the Jumbly Crumbles, like between 2017 and 2019, there were plenty of time. With the election, he got 40% of the vote in 2017. And then there were polls that had him on 43% or whatever, ahead of like 5 points up on the Conservatives, but in the kind of the Brexit negotiation period where Theresa May was doing, a pretty bad job, not as bad as Liz Truss, but a bad job at the time. So he was polling, obviously this 54% poll is a crazy outlier, but still monumentous. But like when you look at the polling average, it's about 20 points up or so around about then, with most of them getting Labour into the mid-40s, which is only just ahead of where Jeremy Corbyn was at the time. And you've got to think that, well, if Labour's polling similar to what it was in 2018, when Jeremy Corbyn was ahead as Labour at that point in time, but the lead is way higher, that's not Labour gaining more voters. That is the Tory support falling off a fucking cliff. And that doesn't happen because of anything that Labour's done. That has to come from actions that the Tory party have done to damage their own reputation and credibility, which, as we've seen, they have done.
Indeed.
With is that we had to take action to deal with what is a very, very difficult economic situation. And this situation has been caused by Putin's appalling war in Ukraine that has pushed up energy prices. We're still facing the aftermath of the COVID crisis. And it's important the United Kingdom's on the front foot, that we are pulling all the levers we can to drive economic growth, which ultimately is about making sure that people have jobs and they have higher wage jobs in the future, getting the infrastructure investment. And I know as a Norfolk MP, getting roads upgraded like the A47, getting our mobile and broadband in is important. And we are pushing ahead with that. That is what we are pushing ahead with, to make sure we get the economy growing, but also we help people in the short term with their energy bills and by keeping taxes low. So people will see a reduction in their national insurance. Companies will not be facing increased tax bills, and that will keep our economy going at what is a very difficult time for the world. And it's not just Britain that's facing difficulties. This is a global problem.
You're about to take on your first Conservative conference as leader.
Yeah, that's true. No mention of Brexit at all. What happened to the sunny fucking uplands of Brexit and all that bollocks?
The money birds. What about the money birds? They were supposed to fly to us and form themselves into new hospitals. That definitely never happened. But like, I obviously Brexit it's not help this, right? And especially not when the key thing that was good about the country tanking the pound is that it makes our export industry a lot more competitive, which we can't do because we're now not part of the single market of the biggest trading bloc in the world that's right on our fucking doorstep. So we can't export to anybody, so there's just nothing good about this. But even so, all of this stuff, this would have been just as bad Brexit or no Brexit. It's just even worse than it otherwise would have been. The issue gets compounded. Like neoliberalism is not even objectivism at its core is the issue here.
Have you considered British fish?
True.
The fish are happy now because they're British.
They are happy now, the British, although the fishermen aren't. They got lied to.
Yeah, exactly. But the fish have blue passports, and that's what matters.
You're being urged to recall Parliament. You're being urged to row back on some of the tax cuts that were promised in the budget. Does a strong leader stick to Plan A regardless, or do they admit when things haven't gone to plan and change course?
This is the right plan that we've set out.
For fuck's sake.
This is about making sure that
kill
people
me.
are going into the winter not worried about ultra high fuel bills, which is what we were looking at. It was simply unconscionable that we could have allowed that to happen, and we could allow people to be facing that fear of not being able to pay their fuel bill. And it's also important that we're taking steps to improve growth levels in our economy, because if we don't, we're not going to get the high wage jobs, we're not going to get the opportunities, we're not going to get the investment that we need to see in our county and across our country.
Honestly, this is going to kill me. This is I'm going to die of not even boredom. It's more catatonic than that. It's more. It's going to put me into a fucking coma.
I did say to go to the supercar.
No, because the thing is, right. I like to torture my audience.
Reasonable.
I've given them plenty of warning that this is what I do. If they're still here, they're clearly sadists, masochists. So I have to torture them.
Excellent, 100%. Also, good news, it doesn't trigger content ID, so we're all good on that front.
Awesome. YouTube maybe aren't entirely shit then. but they
No,
are mostly shit.
I can't believe LBC started copyright claiming my videos where I was shamelessly borrowing all of their content. They were the best things. For ages, I've put up so many segments, which is just me reacting to LBC. All of them got monetized, and then there's this last one. For some reason, they decided they wanted the small clip that I use, not a long clip. They decided to monetize it. So I guess I'm gonna have to move on to something else. Times Radio, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
There will always be people
speaking
who
of investment
oppose
in our
a
county,
particular measure. There will always be people, and it's not necessarily easy, but we have to do it.
speaking of investment in our county, you are the South West Norfolk MP, and in the constituency next to yours, there'll be lots of people who'll be going to work for the NHS in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital today, and they're working in an environment where the roof is held up by, at the last count, 1,500 props. Can you guarantee that Kings Lynn will get a new hospital?
No. Obviously not. Like, it's not like we made a fucking promise on the side of a bus for fucking 1 million new hospitals and shit. No, it's fine. Why would you need a new hospital? Just fucking die quietly, you poor cunts. Is official Tory party policy now.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Like, what we do? There's no money to build hospitals with. Like you need like what we're going to do? Take out even more bonds and push the cost of borrowing up even further, having slashed the exchequers of the money coming into the exchequer. Like, what are you going to do?
Well, luckily, because the pound is now worth, let me just check, nothing. We can now build entire buildings out of printed cash. It's literally not worth spending. We'll just papier-mâché with £20 notes. The walls of hospitals. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And what's happened is people in Caracas are now changing their bolivars into pounds, so they have even more notes to build their note houses with.
True. We are the European Venezuela.
Well, as you know, as a local MP, I have been lobbying very hard to see improvements at the Queen Elizabeth, and I've seen for myself the very difficult situation with the roof. And of course, we have a new Health Secretary, Therese Coffey. I do hope she'll visit the Queen Elizabeth Hospital soon to see the situation there.
We'll see. You're the fucking Prime Minister. What do you mean we'll see?
Well, the worst part about all of this, right? She's like, this has clearly just been done off the cuff. They were just like, what should we do? That tax rate, get rid of it. That stamp duty, we'll raise the threshold. People on benefits, fuck them. Like, it's clearly just been written on the back of a napkin in one meeting. And they've had 8 weeks. They had 8 weeks of fucking leadership contest for her to be able to build a plan, and then give us. Because again, remember they wouldn't publish the Treasury's forecast of the economic policies of the mini budget. They refused to publish it. I wonder if we can get an FOI on it. I'm not even sure. And Iron Mage in my chat is pointing out that there's apparently going to be emergency talks with the Office for Budget Responsibility. She's going to get cucked by the people who is she supposed to be in league with at this point. What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, amazing shit. By the way, FK in the coffee, you should hit the follow button. You should. I've started a new thing where I bully people who aren't following into following,
and also give Kevin, everyone in Kevin Logan's chat, give Kevin Logan your money.
True, and everyone in my chat also give me money, but also give no just money.
You get the 20 points ahead emo, which you can now use unironically.
And make sure that action is taken.
She'll be the 4th health secretary to have visited.
Patients.
So when is it going to happen?
She will be the one that delivers.
You hope. Norfolk
Well,
needs this.
I'm not making promises on her behalf, but I will.
You're the fucking Prime Minister. You can say, yeah, we're going to build a new hospital.
Yeah.
And then you can make that happen. That's sort of the point of being in Prime Minister is that you can do things. What? Are you not in any control whatsoever? Is she have they just given her the title, but she's got none of the actual power?
She's going full minarchist. We're just gonna instead of dissolving the state, we're just gonna make sure that the state stops doing anything. The state's just gonna stop. It's not gonna get dissolved. It's all gonna be there. They're just gonna sit at home and play Angry Birds.
It's like when a kid gets one of those fake steering wheels, and you attach it to the passenger seat dashboard. And the kid can pretend it's driving the car. That's her being Prime Minister. And someone else is actually driving the car. Probably George Soros.
Or Emily Carver from the IEA just driving the car off a cliff.
Yeah, exactly.
I will certainly be putting that case as the local MP.
Liz Truss, welcome to the Wake Up Call. Thank you for your time. Time is short, so I'm going to just blaze on into the questions. Lots from my listeners this morning. Gary in Birchington says, what on earth are you thinking? The country was already in a state of...
God, that's savage. Because the thing is, they probably had ones that were more I don't know, middle of the road, that they could have softballed it. But she's just going to read out, what the hell were you thinking? That's fucking brutal, man. Absolutely lovely work.
Recession. Another says, how can we ever trust the Conservatives with our economy again? And Lydia says, are you ashamed of what you've done? Are you?
I mean, but again, you shouldn't have trusted them in the first place. They were never trustworthy. They've never have been trustworthy.
Are you ashamed of what you've done? She's a dog that's shat in the corner.
I'm not angry. I'm just very disappointed.
What we need to do is rub her nose in it. Rub her nose in the financial fucking distress, and then she learns. You see? Give me paw, Liz. Come on.
Naughty.
I think we have to remember what situation this country was facing. We were going into the winter with people expected to face fuel bills of up to £6,000, huge rates of inflation.
And you've made it worse.
But also slowing economic growth. And what we've done...
Getting absolutely rinsed heckled by
the best one yet. She's like every time she says anything, you fucked it. It's like
every time there's a half peak, she's just like, you're shit. You're bad at it.
Shit. Well, it's the bit again, to make another Alan Partridge reference. It's the bit where he starts saying, "I'm not driving a mini metro. I'm not driving a mini metro," over and over again, but the other way around.
True. Exactly. You can keep saying it, Lynn, but I'll just speak over you.
Yeah.
I'll just speak over you, okay?
You're shit. You've sucked. You've destroyed the country.
Stop talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. You're never going to meet Benjamin Netanyahu.
No,
actually, Liz Truss might do.
It's going to be Yair Lapid instead.
True. Or Neftali Bennett or whatever.
Yeah.
Is we've taken action to make sure that from this weekend, people won't be paying a typical fuel bill of more than £2,500, not just this year, but also next year.
But isn't that cancelled out by the fact that you're making inflation work with the measures that you have brought in on Friday in the mini budget? People are worried about their mortgages and they're tearing their hair out over their pensions. I've got so many messages, Liz.
This will curb inflation by up to 5%.
Just a Liz bot just carries on. Like the person just said, we got loads of these messages. Everyone fucking thinks you're a piece of shit. And she just carries on with the sentence as if nothing's happened. As if she hasn't just been absolutely devastated.
It also just doesn't make any sense.
She's an NPC. She's an NPC.
It also doesn't make any sense. What we're going to tax it. We're going to reduce inflation by A, increasing aggregate demand, and B, having to inject even more money into the economy. It doesn't matter whether you're a Keynesian or a monetarist. On both fronts of what you believe causes inflation, she is doing what causes inflation. It's just nonsense. This is literally just like, the kind of like the worst kind of internet leftists who just believe, yeah, it's fine. Well, in our future society, we'll just mutual aid ourselves the ability to be able to synthesize pharmaceuticals or whatever. This is even less attached to reality than those people.
I don't know. A bathtub chemotherapy. Let's go.
When?
What we're also doing is taking action this winter. So the action we've taken on energy is expected to curb inflation by up to 5%. And we're also taking action to grow the economy because we were facing an economic slowdown. We have to remember why that is. It's because of Putin's appalling war in Ukraine has pushed up global energy prices.
These problems are bad, but I'm going to jump in because time is short. We've seen the Bank of England having to intercede because of the measures that your government brought in on Friday. This doesn't normally happen.
We're working.
Honestly, this person needs a raise.
Yeah,
'Cause she's just
100%.
absolutely
Best one
bodying
so
the
far.
pool. Yeah, it's so good. If Liz Truss could just answer a question, I mean, her microchips would fry and she'd stop working. But she should answer one of these questions truthfully for once.
Yeah.
Very, very closely with the Bank of England. The Bank of England
They're
run
putting out your fire, to be
independent
fair.
monetary policy. The Bank of England.
You mentioned Rishi Sunak in chat there, thinking Sabercat. In I think what is the ultimate slap in the face, they're holding the Tory Party conference in Birmingham, my own hometown, in next week or this week, I can't remember. And he's not even going.
Yeah.
He's literally not even going to be there.
Brilliant.
And several others aren't as well. But thankfully, as I pointed out, hang on, where are we? Thankfully, Birmingham's children are going to be safe from the Tory pedophiles. We've erected a fence outside of the building to protect the fine citizens of this city and their children from the Tory pederasts, which is good.
Oh, the best bit was when
they'll be shipped in. They can hold their pedo conference, and then they'll be shipped out. We'll be safe. So that's good.
The best bit I remember was when I think it was Reem Ibrahim. She's like fucking bullshit, like a libertarian propagandist. She's like 20 and she makes me angry. She was the one who posted that she got rinsed on Twitter. She posted that video of the TikTok that she posted of her and her mates in the pub describing their political views. And there's this one guy who's like the greasiest scrote you've ever seen, like fucking Grebo, saying, "I'm a right-wing libertarian," and you're like, yes, we can tell.
Of course you are, yeah. Yeah,
but yeah,
I can smell you through the screen, mate. Yes.
Yeah, and she tweeted out, you can't believe the RMT are playing politics by deliberately staging strikes at the time of the conference. It's clearly deliberate. I'm like, well, fucking nothing gets past you, does it, Reem? Oh, I can't believe they would do such a thing. What a crazy.
An overtly political organisation is doing politics. This is an outrage.
Explicitly to be able to troll the Conservative conference. You think, what crazy thing that might ever happen every single time a strike has ever taken place?
Also, a lot of these strikes would have happened, but the Queen died and they cocked it. So, what are you gonna do?
Oh my god! But actually, covering the conference is gonna be so funny. Like the Tory conference is going to be fucking hilarious.
I might take a walk down there. I mean, I don't know if I can even live stream that, but I might film some stuff and go through it or whatever.
Oh my god! Do you know what days it's scheduled for?
I don't yet, but I was just going to drive into town and see, just take a look around. If it looks like a riot might happen, I go home.
I'm just down. I'm like a short train away from Birmingham, so I might go just to try and do some like live interviews and see if I can make some content out of it.
No, okay. Well, maybe we'll meet up in real life.
That'd be.
I'm actually a 3 foot tall man who's just got a great camera.
Excellent.
True.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
England run an independent monetary policy. They set interest rates. We have seen difficult markets around the world because of the very difficult international situation we face. And what our government has done is we've taken decisive action. First of all, on energy bills, which is the biggest part of the package that we put forward, and I think that was the right thing to do.
It's the other decisive action that people are worried about.
I think it would have been unconscionable for us to allow people to go into this winter and next winter facing those high energy bills. We've also taken action to reduce our tax burden, which was at
part of the problem is she's so soporific, but now she's being beaten down, so it's getting worse with each consecutive interview, because this is chronological. With each consecutive interview, she just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, and she's realised that she's screwed up now. Or she's realised, oh, hang on a minute, these are the people who don't have to care about how much they attack me. Shit, what have I done?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
20-year high.
And when the Chancellor talks about more tax cuts, that has massively affected the markets. Let's not shy away from that. We saw the pound absolutely dive, and we've all got used to talking about bonds and gilts. I've learned what they are recently. This cannot happen. We cannot have our entire monetary security undermined like this.
Well, as I say, we're working very closely with the Bank of England. We face a difficult international situation, and
she's not human.
I'm very clear.
She's not.
The government has done.
She's a robot lizard in a human suit.
Who's more? More?
She can't be real. This can't be a real. No person acts like this.
Who's less charismatic, Theresa May or Liz Truss?
My fucking toenail clippings are more animated than both of them. Like it's awful. Is this the best we can do?
Yes.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah,
Pack it
absolutely,
up then.
100%.
We're done.
100%.
We're done.
Yeah.
If this is the best we can do, it's over. Pack it up, sell it to France, and we'll fucking have a good time or something. I don't know.
I mean, no, it is literally, as Joe Lissette put it on TV. Some people might say that this is the absolute dregs of a Conservative Party that literally has nothing to offer us, right?
Well, I'm very right wing, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm reassured. Aren't you reassured?
Killing it, Liz.
Killing it.
The right thing by taking action urgently to deal with inflation, to deal with the economic slowdown, and to deal with the high energy bills. And of course, that involves taking difficult decisions. And as Prime Minister, I'm prepared to take difficult decisions and do the right thing.
Another question from a listener then. What level of suffering is acceptable to ordinary households in order to achieve your perceived goal of growth sometime in the future?
Well, what I've been doing is taking action to help ordinary households who would have been facing fuel bills of up to £6,000.
Haven't you been reading the news
We
with
have
respect?
taken action. We've taken action by the government stepping in, making sure that nobody is paying fuel bills.
Ms. Truss, this is a crisis.
More than £2,500.
This is a crisis, and many people are saying you've made it worse by your actions. Are you going to reverse what was announced in the mini budget in order to at least make things better now for my listeners who are not sleeping at night?
I don't accept the premise of the question. The action we've taken
I don't accept the premise of the question.
It's like,
that is definitely a Prime Minister in control of the situation.
It's just like Boris Johnson saying that he doesn't agree with the Supreme Court's decision that he broke the law.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you can disagree with all you want, mate. It doesn't make it any less true. Or maybe you could disagree with gravity and float the fuck away.
That would be awesome. You should have done that. Okay, solid one from David Baddiel. On the round of local radio interviews, Liz Truss came across so far out of her depth, I feel I need to ring the RNLI. True. That is true.
Has been helping people with their fuel bills. That will start off this weekend. It's been helping
Gonna
people
have
with
to
their
accept
tax
it.
bills. People are going to pay less national insurance. But we are facing difficult economic times. I don't deny this. This is a global problem. But what is absolutely right is the UK government has stepped in and acted at this difficult time.
I have 30 seconds left with you, Ms. Truss, so I'm going to ask you a very quick one on small boats coming over. What is your plan? People of Kent want to know, are you sticking with the Rwanda policy or is there something else?
We are, and what we will make sure is that UK courts can't be overruled by the European Court of Human Rights.
How are you possibly going to do that? What are you talking about?
Well, she wants to leave the ECJ, is what she really wants to do. And obviously the ECHR, but the ECJ as well, which literally she's going to cause war in Ireland. It will happen. The membership of the ECJ is part of the Good Friday Agreement, and she will tear it up because she doesn't give a shit. She just does not care.
Yeah. Well, like I said, she should look into how the IRA dealt with the previous British female prime minister that they had to deal with, and maybe don't book any rooms in hotels in Brighton.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Just saying. Anyway.
So we are able to deal with the small boats crisis, and the Home Secretary is determined to get on with that.
OK, no time for any more questions. We leave you with a very big thank you then. The Prime Minister of the country, busy lady, spending time with us here at the Wake Up Call. We needed to let her go because she is doing a round of media interviews this morning, so she needs to get to the next one. So
yeah, this is a really rough gangbang. She is getting fucked every single time, all over the country. It's, I mean, honestly, some people like it rough, but this is too much. Actually,
can I please say the safe word for the CNC scene that I'm being exposed to here?
Go on then.
Well, obviously, apparently she's in this BDSM relationship with her husband. That she's apparently that's what the rumor is.
So someone did this one. Actual footage of Liz Truss in the UK economy and financial market.
Oh dear.
If you know that meme, you're a bad person. Shut up.
I prefer like one where it's like the tattooed guy on the sofa and then like all the goth girls behind him. That's the version I prefer. The future that liberals want.
Exactly.
We need to stick to the agreed time frame. That time went very quickly, didn't it?
Thank you for all your questions, by the way, to the Prime Minister. Loads of questions from Sue, from Catherine and Gary, from Graham in Lancaster, from Nikki, from Andy in St Anne's, from Adam in Blackburn, Biker Nigel, thanks to yours, and Sean from Chorley. Let's speak live to the Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning.
Lots to talk about, and I want to keep it local. And I want to talk about fracking. Let's talk about fracking. We're the only area of the country.
This, by the way, you might have seen this one. This one might be the most brutal. It's so bad. She's shit at this. Oh my God. Sorry. Spoilers.
That's actually done it. It caused earthquakes. People's houses shook. Why do you think it's safe to continue? Because none of the science has changed.
Well, what I want to be clear about is that we will only press ahead with fracking in areas where there is local community support for that. And the business secretary has been very clear about that. Now, fracking is carried out perfectly safely in various parts of
Where?
the world.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where haven't they fucked up the local water table and caused fucking earthquakes and shit? Like, it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It's
just a fucking
horrendous.
series of horror stories.
Yeah. I hate everything about this.
And the business sector will make sure that any fracking that takes place is safe. But it's very important for me as Prime Minister that any fracking has local community consent. But I think we have to be clear about why we're doing this. One thing that has happened is that the UK has become dependent on global energy prices. And we've seen...
God, please stop it. Please pause it one sec. The worst, I fucking despise the fact that this is the line that they're going with, because it's just a complete lie about it will make us more energy competitive. What if they're going to be selling these fracking licenses to private companies? Where do you think the private companies are going to sell the gas? In the wholesale European market. So the price spike of gas will mean nothing. We'll literally be paying exactly the same for gas. It just means that there might be some money going to the exchequer from people, private companies paying for the fracking licenses. That is literally it. It will not make us more energy independent, because it will just be, again, just like opening extra fields in the North Sea would be. It's just a complete fabrication, again, just because they want to be able to dole out the fracking fields to their mates to be able to get the brown envelopes under the table. It's so cynical.
Yes.
Well, usually the phrase "I'm not threatening you, but" is followed by a threat.
I'm sorry, Malcolm. I'm really sorry.
Fuck's sake, Jesus! Right, well now we've got another fucking adjective to add to fucking smug and glum, haven't we? Fucking retarded! Jesus.
Oh, our word.
Do you not think it would be germane to check who you're talking to? It's a fucking newspaper office! Is that a fucking sanatorium for the fucking deaf? Is it? Are you so dense? I'm not going to have to run around slapping badges on people with a big tick on some and a big cross on others, so you know when to shut your gob and when to open it. Jesus Christ. Oh, but that'll probably confuse you as well, won't it? That'll be too confusing. You'll see the cross and go, oh, fuck, X marks the spot. Better tell this little person all about the Prime Minister's fucking catastrophic erectile dysfunction. Oh, but not too long. Not too long. You've sent fucking Ollie over there to deal with it. Fucking Ollie! He's a fucking knitted scarf, that twat. He's a fucking balaclava.
Well, you're on very shaky legal ground now.
No, I'm really...
Oh dear.
Doctor Who. Legend.
Ukraine, how energy prices have shot up, and Russia has used the fact that it produces gas as a way of exerting pressure on other countries. And we simply don't want to be in that position. So what I want to see is more homegrown energy in the UK.
Okay.
And that means using resources in the North Sea. It means more renewables. It means more nuclear. And it also means fracking in areas where there is local support.
You mentioned Jacob Rees-Mogg in the House of Commons. He called.
Where is their local support for this? There is
What's
not a
the thing?
single area of the country that has support for this. Nowhere.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
who wants this in their look? It literally, when it comes to fracking, every motherfucker's a NIMBY. No, we don't want it here. Like, I can't stop you doing it somewhere else, but fuck off. No one wants it here.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. Like, literally nowhere would do so. Like, the reason why he's bringing up, I think you'll say in a bit, is obviously he's speaking for the people who are from his local area because it's a local radio station. Well, we don't want fracking there. No one does. In fact, I may just point out in my chat. Apparently, that a former head of a fracking company said there's not enough shale gas in the UK for it even to be worth them doing in the first place.
Yeah. Public support for fracking. Oh, this will just be a generic one, won't it?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Again, it's because you're absolutely right, and it's peak NIMBY because all the people who do want it will want it not near them specifically. As long as it
go and
doesn't
drill
have-
some
yeah.
poor areas. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
22% said they strongly oppose. 22% said they simply oppose. Only 4% of people were strongly in favour.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because people aren't fucking.
4%.
Well, literally, people aren't stupid. People aren't idiots. People know what. People just like, yeah. Well, do I want to cause earthquakes and destroy the biosphere? No, not really. Like, even if you
Do
want,
I want to drink brown water?
Yeah, even if you're pro fossil fuels, right? You're like, well, at least do the drilling not near the actual place where my food grows, because it's all comes from the fucking under the sea. That's fine as far as they're concerned. Just please not in my back garden.
Yeah.
People who didn't support fracking Luddites and said there was an air of hysteria.
By the way, fuck Jacob Rees-Mogg, and also the Luddites were actually very, very based. I'm not going to go into it. I've been through it a million times, but they were actually really based. They've, along with the Vandals, have a really bad historical name that they don't really deserve.
About them. Do you agree with his comments?
I wouldn't have expressed it like that, I can assure you. I am of the view that we need to have local consent to proceed with projects like fracking. I also support that for housing. What I want is, and this is why we're setting up new investment zones across the country with local support to get the economy going, to get investment into our country. And the same is true for energy projects as well.
Let's talk about local consent right now. What does that look like? Scott Benton, the Conservative MP for Blackpool South, in a tweet says he believes that people in Blackpool South do not support fracking. This is the Tory MP for Fylde, Mark Menzies, in the House of Commons.
If the Prime Minister is to remain a woman of her word, a woman that we can believe in, which I believe she is, can the Secretary of State outline how that local consent will be given and demonstrated in my constituency of Fylde?
What does local consent look like, Prime Minister?
Well, the
Oh, for fuck's sake! It's interminable gaps. Oh, she's just shit at this. She's so bad at this. Look, my fucking toes are curling up with cringe.
I know, right? It is. Like, it's just.
hell.
It absolutely is peak cringe. It really, really is. At least Boris would go. Rah, 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 rah. Actually, if you look at the buses. Like, at least he would fill the gap with some bluster, right?
Yeah.
Like he's writing an essay for like an English language exam in year 10.
Get to the word limit. Yeah.
Yeah, get fine. As long as I say things, people can't tell me I'm not saying things. But she literally sits there like someone who's just farted, just pretending no one's noticed, and then goes, "Oh wait, and I have to say something now because now people suspect me because I'm so silent." Okay, and then she starts saying stuff.
Indeed. 255. Yes, it would be more difficult to make in the thick of it now because it's more mental. Yes.
Well, exactly, and Armando Iannucci's a complete fucking melt as well.
Is he? What's he been up to?
Oh no, he spent the entirety of the Corbyn premiership attacking the Jam Man, basically for being the.
They all. I'll be honest with you. The local media bods here are doing a really good job, but mostly the British media There's virtually no one who didn't show their ass a little bit during the Jumbly Crumble years.
100%, right? Well, that's why I have like a whole like folder of memes on my phone that just say you got what you wanted. They were like complaining about Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, and they were going out spending their entire time complaining about how bad the Jam Man would be, and I'm like, yeah, tough mate, tough shit. Like,
well, did you see
think yeah?
Jess Phillips being interviewed by Owen Jones at the Labour conference?
Yeah.
She was basically saying like, well, why would we stick with the same thing that didn't win? Well, maybe, Jess, if you and your acolytes had spent more time trying to get Jeremy Corbyn elected Prime Minister instead of attacking him, maybe he would have won.
Well, literally threatening to attack him like verbatim, right? Like,
yeah, I'll stab him in the front.
That's
not
there,
saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, again, and it's crazy. People kept saying that she came out of that interview looking good when she just basically answered none of the questions. And conflated the idea of being what quote unquote right wing and being on the right wing of the Labour Party. Now, I, as a leftist, would definitely think that she's right wing. And again, I don't know what's in her head or in her heart. I couldn't give a shit. What I actually care is about the efficacy of the policy proposals that she puts forward, and she continually carries favour with neoliberal, monetarist, imperialist kind of reactionary talking points and reactionary policy. And I'm like, well, unless you fundamentally change what you actually advocate for, I don't give a shit whether you'd think that privatisation would be good in the abstract, because you never fucking advocate for it ever. I don't care.
The Secretary will be laying out in more detail exactly what that looks like, but it does mean making sure there is local support for going ahead. And I can assure you... It
sounds like you don't know.
And
it sounds like that because she doesn't know.
True.
Yeah.
Assure Mark Menzies. Well, there are various detailed issues to be worked through, but I can assure Mark Menzies that I will make sure there is local consent if we are to go ahead in any particular...
Parliamentarians, you need to make a decision. Is it Ming Campbell and Mark Ming, or is it Mark Menzies and Menzies Campball? You can't have it both ways. It's like Kansas and Arkansas all over again.
Yeah,
choose one pronunciation and fucking stick to it.
Particular area with fracking.
But your local MPs don't want it, all Conservative. In the past, the County Council have said they didn't want it, yet your government overturned it. The science hasn't changed. Why can't you tell us this morning there won't be a return to fracking in Lancashire?
Because there will be.
Well, I don't accept the premise of your question.
Again?
Why?
Again? I don't accept the premise of your question. Well, that's not how it works. I don't care if you accept the premise. Answer the fucking question.
No, you've not given me a way of wriggling out, so I don't accept that. I will only accept a question where you allow me to be able to give a non-answer.
True.
It's certainly the case at present, because what I said is if there is local consent, we will go ahead. We need to explore where there is local consent, and where there isn't, and we're still doing that work.
Your
I don't
Chancellor,
think we should rule out the whole of Lancashire.
You talked about how it's a success in other countries, but in America they do it in the middle of nowhere. Do you actually know where Preston New Road is, where they have been fracking?
Well, I don't think I've been to that site in the past.
Shouldn't you?
Oh, fucking hell. Oh. Honestly, I might cringe so hard I shit out a kidney.
It's just funny. It's watching them just basic questions that no other journalist would do so, because they're in the position with which they're allowed to. They just go like, "Is it? Are you? Can you do like what? Are you ashamed? Like, is there a brain? Like, were you dropped on the head as a child? Do you not like dribble like lots of spit down your face with every word that you say? Like, they could just say it, they have the ability to say anything and they're doing it, and she's like, I wasn't prepared for questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't expect it to actually answer things about
an inquisition. What is this? Yeah. I'm not the Prime Minister. Wait, I am.
Well, no one expects that, do they? So
yeah. True.
Is there even a middle of nowhere in the UK? Exactly. Well, that's I think the point he's making is that there is no middle of nowhere in the UK. There's there's some woods and stuff, but like it's close enough to somewhere that everyone gets fucked. You can't frack anywhere without killing people, basically.
No, that's the other thing as well, is that outside of like the city areas, literally everything else is either golf courses or AONBs. Like, there's nowhere. Like, what are you gonna do? What, you do it in the middle of the fucking like the Yorkshire Dales or something? Like, and so in the Pennines, like obviously we wouldn't be able to do shale gas, but even so, like, where is that? There's no like, it would have to be Cornwall, I guess. Dorset? Is that the only place with enough open space where there isn't anybody living to even go?
Do we have any uninhabited islands, like little islands up in the
Hebrides?
Yeah. Fucking hell, man.
Well, as I've said, we will only go ahead with projects where there is local consent. I'm very, very clear about that.
No,
now we will make sure that local consent is in place. And if there is a concern about a particular site, those concerns will, of course, be looked at and taken into account.
What are you
Let's
doing?
talk about people's pockets. What do you think?
Someone
the
on my
people
chat
who
with a really
voted
funny
Tory
comment.
for the first time, elected a Tory MP.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, she'll make sure there's local consent for fracking, just like Russia is making sure there is local consent for ceding with a totally legitimate referendum.
Yeah. Did you know 95% of the people of Preston support the earthquakes in their area?
In places like Burnley, in Hyndburn and Blackpool South. Will they still be thinking that you're on their side? You've given a huge tax cut to the highest earners. They'll get on average, about 10 grand a year back. Will your Red Wall supporters think that that's fair? Is it fair, Prime Minister?
Well, what is fair is that people were facing huge energy bills this winter of up to £6,000. And because the government has stepped in, we are making sure that nobody faces energy bills of more than a typical £2,500 from this weekend.
And you've dealt with that, but also people's mortgages now. And you've dealt with that now, but people's mortgages now, because of what you did on...
That's a big thing we dealt with. It's a big thing.
Yeah, but people now are worried they can't...
And can I just say, it is the biggest thing, Graham, in the budget we just announced was the energy support. That was the biggest thing, and I think people should understand that.
But another big thing is people are worried, very worried, who are paid quite well, that they won't be able to do their mortgage payments next year because the interest rates are sky high after your not so many budget on Friday.
Interest rates are a matter for the Independent Bank of England. That's a very important principle.
Yeah, and with its predictions,
interest rates go up around.
Yeah, it's God, it's sad.
Yeah, the Bank of England are literally telling you that's what they almost certainly have to do. They're telling you what they're going to do. They're like, well, we'll see. We'll ride it out for a bit. And I'm like, well, it'll be too late then. It'll be too late. Yeah, I'm gonna leave my hand slowly above this rotating blade, right? And then we'll see eventually if things go wrong. And I'm like, no, you'll cut your hand off. Well, we'll see. We'll see if I lose my hand. But we can't know for sure until my hand touches the blade.
Exactly. It's Schrodinger's hand.
Yeah, true. Is it an intact or dismembered? That is indeed the question.
The world. We are facing a global economic situation. My priority as Prime Minister is making sure that the British public are protected from those economic shocks. That's why we've taken action on energy prices.
Is it just me now, or is she starting to pace her words so long that she's just trying to just waste as much time in the interview to just get through it? And I took the action. It's just, come on, Liz, this is ridiculous.
Energy price guarantee.
Heading over to the buffet. So if she stuffs her face with enough food, she won't have to answer any difficult questions.
Exactly. She's treating the British public like that annoying uncle at the wedding that you don't want to talk to, which is a bit unfortunate. It seems like we're paying your fucking wages. Jesus.
They've gone up, by the way. They've had a pay rise.
Of course they have. Yeah, of course they have. I mean, heaven forbid they went on strike.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Also help reduce inflation. That's expected to reduce inflation by up to 5%. What we're also doing is taking action to spur economic growth, to cut people's taxes right across the board, but also to speed up projects. And we've been talking about energy projects. We also want to speed up road projects.
Okay.
We also want to get more broadband and mobile so that we can grow the economy, can attract more investment into places like Lancashire, and we can make sure that there are high wage jobs available in the future. And of course, some of these decisions are difficult.
Okay.
And some people don't like them. But what I couldn't do is
fuck
allow the
those people.
situation to drift. So that is why my government has
Right.
taken urgent action.
Prime Minister, we'll have to leave it
But
there.
again,
But
it's
thank
so
you ever so much
silly,
for
like-
joining us this morning. That is a Prime Minister.
I just need to continue to reiterate. To just I know it sounds like I'm labouring the point, right? But she was like, we want to get inflation down. Good. We want to get the economy moving. Good. We want to make sure that people can pay their bills. Good. We've got an energy plan in place, which is not ideal, but at least something to make sure people can pay their bills. Fine. And then we're gonna just get rid of an entire tax bans and then plunge the gilt market into fucking freefall. Literally, you've done everything right. You've done everything right up to this point, right? Or at least acceptable up to this point, as far as the British electorate are concerned. And then you've gone, and then we're going to destroy everything on top of that. Well,
Exactly. We're gonna feed the newborn baby. We're gonna clothe it. We're gonna make sure it's warm and safe, and then we're gonna punt it off a cliff.
Literally.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, they were 95% of the way there. You know, nearly.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, if she just left it there, they would have been ahead in the polls. Almost certainly. And they've just fucked everything.
Minister Liz Truss live on BBC Radio Lancashire.
We've got the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, on the line now. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning.
People like it when politicians are honest. Why don't you just hold your hands up and say, this is a mess, we got it wrong, and we're going to do something different?
Fucking hell.
Vicious, I love it.
That's so good. Why don't you just admit you're shit at this?
Yeah,
Disgust.
she's terrible. It's really bad.
Anyway, let's hear what fucking Lizbot has to say. Beep boop, beep boop.
We've got to look at the situation
There you go.
this country would be facing if the government hadn't acted. People were facing fuel bills of up to £6,000 this winter, and people and families were worried about that. We were facing very, very high inflation and also a slowing economy. And this is why we took action. This is why we've taken action to make sure that people's bills are no more than £2,500.
But by all accounts, you've made it worse.
And that helps.
The former chair of the Bank of England has said this is a problem of your own making. Top man at the Treasury, David Gork, says this has been caused by the mini-budget that you announced, the financial instability that we're all living through, and our listeners who are worried about losing their homes. You've made it worse.
Well, what I was just saying is the energy package that we've announced is likely to reduce inflation by up to 5%, as well as increasing economic growth. And we're facing an economic slowdown. This is a global issue. There are problems around the world. And this government has taken decisive action. And of course, in that decisive action to lower the tax burden, to get economic growth going, to help people with energy bills, which is the biggest part of the mini budget we announced, is the energy bill support. That is important.
But the choices you've made in this mini budget is going to benefit far greater those who are very, very well off. If you make £1 million, you're going to benefit 55 grand a year from the tax cuts. On 20k, like a teaching assistant or a nurse, £157. A couple of people have said to me here in Nottingham, this is like a reverse Robin Hood.
Oh,
that's
God, that's good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Like
you're stealing from the poor to pay the rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, that's
like
good.
I wish I could laugh, but it's just that's just what she is.
Yep, it is.
Simply isn't true.
Which
by
bit of
far
it?
the biggest part
Which
of
bit
the
of
mini.
it?
Well,
that the tax cuts are
of what you just said.
disproportionately benefiting the wealthiest.
The biggest part of the package that we announced is the support on energy bills, of making sure that people across this country are not facing energy bills of more than £2,500 and that businesses can get through this winter. We were facing a situation where pubs were going to go out of business, where shops were going to go out of business, where people were facing unaffordable energy bills. And the package that we presented in the energy statement, but also in the mini budget last week, the biggest part of that is the help on energy.
People were worried about being able to heat their homes, and you've acknowledged that. People are now worried about being able to keep their homes.
And we've dealt with it, and that is the biggest part of the package.
But with the interest rates and people's mortgages, they're now worried not only can they heat their homes, but whether they can keep their homes, whether they can afford their mortgages.
It's an important principle.
Thank you for the raid, Adam Simpson. Well, good to see you in chat. Hope you're doing well.
97. And what we're seeing around the world is we are seeing great pressure on the international markets because of Putin's war in Ukraine. It's pushed up energy prices. It has created inflation, and it's created.
I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of everyone else going literally both the Democrats in the United States and the Conservatives over here just going. Literally everything can be blamed on the war in Ukraine, and that any mitigation that we take is we shouldn't be expected that what our mitigation for us to engage in mitigation because we can just blame everything that goes wrong on the war in Ukraine rather than the political decisions that we've made in the wake of that war. Whereas that's the clear distinction, right? You can say, well, the war that's happened, that's led to bad stuff happening, right? But it's your job as Prime Minister or President in Joe Biden's case to then go, well, this is what we're doing, right? And what they're doing is nothing. Or in the case of Liz Truss, literally the worst possible thing that you could possibly do.
Yeah, true. By the way, hello there, Wayward Historian. Late arriving. What's going on here? This tardiness will not be accepted in future. You need to write lines as penance. Also, hello.
That we as a government took decisive action to do what we can to grow the economy, but also to help people with their energy bills, which is the biggest part of the economic package.
Tell me how it's a fairer tax system. When people voted for a fairer tax system in the 2019 manifesto, how is what you did a fairer tax system when a 5% tax cut for those who earn more than 150k is benefiting the rich?
Well, the reality is that people, having lower taxes across the board, which is what we're doing on everything from.
Liz Truss is boring. Wayward, don't even start with me. Chat don't start with me. 40 minutes late is 40 minutes too late. It's unacceptable. Tish tish.
Also, the worst part is saying that it's like a tax cut across the board is such like a fucking weaselly framing of it, right? Like, if everyone was getting 1% off of their tax from each tax band, like, maybe I could understand, that kind of framing. But when you're taking 5% away from the top rate of tax for, the highest earners in the country, and people on, regular wages are only getting, 1%, that is, then you can't say that it's across the board. Just because everyone's getting some tax cut. Okay, brilliant. I've got an extra £120 at the end of the year because of these tax cuts. I guess I'll go to the movies by myself, right? That meme from Trading Places. And then...
Well, if you've got 120 quid, you can heat your house for like 3 seconds.
For 3 seconds, yeah, exactly. And all the landlords have now got extra, enough money for another deposit. That's what they've got, and they can get another deposit on one flat in a block, in a central block in Manchester or whatever. So it's just the most dishonestly, weaselly snide framing possible.
Yeah. True, it's weird that this audio isn't being held on Pornhub, considering she's getting so brutally fucked. True.
Yeah, and to be fair, and again, I'm going to make the joke that everyone's made. She seems to love the free market whilst being publicly owned.
National insurance, to corporation tax, to income tax, helps everybody because it helps grow the economy. And for too long, the debate in this country has been about...
Go on.
Well, it just doesn't. I'm just saying that she's just lying.
It just doesn't. Yeah,
she's just wrong. Yeah. She's just wrong. She's just wrong.
Distribution rather than how we grow our economy.
And so you don't mind if it's not fair?
If we don't grow our economy...
Beep boop.
If we don't grow our economy, that means there won't be new investment. It means there won't be new jobs. and it will mean that people don't get the higher pay they deserve. So I'm prepared to take the difficult decisions to get our economy growing. It's not necessarily popular to keep corporation tax low, but it's important we do, because I want to attract investment into this country. And the fact is that we cannot tax our way to growth. We had the highest tax rates in this country for 70 years.
In a government you were a part of and supported.
Well, even then, like, you talk about, they're going to not stop the rise in corporation tax. We already had the lowest corporation tax in the G7. And as Rishi Sunak was pointing out, right, and Mick Lynch actually pointed this out on BBC Radio as well, and that if you raise corporation tax, that encourages investment. Because it means that people want to avoid, like, instead of that money just for being frittered away into the exchequer as far as the companies are concerned, if they then reinvest it, that money that would go into overall profits or shareholder dividends, etc. If you reinvest that's not part of your net profits, so isn't going to get taxed by corporation tax. So actually, higher corporation tax makes you more likely to invest. If you just make it so that you make so much money out of these dividends that you might as well just continue to extract as much money from the companies as you can. That's what vulture capitalists do. All these private equity firms who just asset strip these middling companies and then just leave the bare bones for the administrators to deal with 3 years down the line, right? That's the perfect thing that benefits them, and it doesn't lead to any amount of growth whatsoever. Like it's just fundamentally not true in the slightest.
Yeah. Joe Lycett clapping there. Hold your nerve, babe. You've got this. At Liz Truss. Nice.
Across the board, we've reduced those taxes across the board, and of course, people who are better off tend to pay more taxes. So there's
do they?
There's a disproportionate effect there.
Well, let me bring you back to what the IMF said, because the IMF made an
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
True.
Facts.
That's exactly what
unprecedented intervention. That we don't normally hear them talk about major economies like this. They said that your tax cuts are likely to increase inequality. And I'd just like to talk directly, Liz, if you could, Prime Minister, I should say, to the people in Mansfield who kind of lent you their vote, to the people who vote for the Conservatives, maybe for the first time in their lives, on the promise that their lives would be better, that this would be levelled up, that they would be benefiting. And here we are with tax cuts that are going to increase inequality. What would you say to those people in Mansfield and Ashfield?
What I would say is I have taken action and the Chancellor has taken action because, first of all, we want to help you get through this winter and next winter without facing those excessive fuel bills. But also, what we want to do is help grow the economy.
But you won't answer, Prime Minister, this question about fairness, this question that all our listeners have been asking me this morning about fairness in these tax proposals that you've made, which have crushed the economy.
Fair. It's not fair to have a recession. It's not fair.
What kind of... Well, why are you causing one then?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you making sure that people are going to default on their mortgages and having their pension funds collapse overnight, lest the Bank of England literally spend billions of pounds bailing that shit out? It's just nonsensical.
She's an idiot.
She's
just an idiot. Yeah.
She's just a clown shoes woman. She went to fucking Oxford. She went to one of the best universities in the fucking... How would someone this dumb get into what and then graduate and then become a politician?
Also did Boris Johnson. So thanks Oxford for producing. And let me just check the official term. Cunts.
I mean, to be fair, like Boris Johnson, I can believe that he's smart, right? I can believe that it's all an act, and I can believe that he's secretly incredibly cunning, and the way he got to his position was by faking being the everyman, by being a bit of a character and an oddball. But Liz Truss doesn't have any of that. She's just no thoughts, head empty, human skin, like a robot in a human suit. Like it's nonsensical.
To have a town where you're not getting the investment. It's not fair if we don't get high-paying jobs in the future because we've got the highest tax burden in 70 years. That's what's not fair.
And is there any evidence anywhere in the world that cutting the taxes of the wealthiest people is going to help inequality and help people in Mansfield get richer?
There is plenty of evidence that if you have very high taxes, they lead to...
That isn't what she fucking asked, Liz. That is not what she asked.
Yep, exactly.
There's evidence that if you put tea and milk together, it's very yummy. That's not what she asked.
Well,
There's evidence of plenty of things, Liz, yeah.
The other thing as well is, again, it comes back down to what I was saying the other day as well, in that in the Conservatives' mind, right, they fully believe in the shit that Liz Truss is doing, at least a reasonable large size of them, but they also know that they cannot win elections if they do not promise public spending, because the UK is pretty left-leaning when it comes to economic policy, such as what they expect from the state. For example, they expect an NHS, they expect... they expect good schools. They expect public investment in public infrastructure and public works projects. They expect this money, right? So they're caught in this conundrum where they want to make sure that everything that the state gets discarded and the taxes get cut and the borrowing gets minimised. But they also want to live in a world where they continue providing these services to continue to get them elected. So this is the bind that they've gotten themselves into, where if they want to follow their economic orthodoxy, they have two choices, which is cost themselves the next election or destroy the economy, right? And they've chosen the latter. I was concerned for a very long time, or not very long time, but obviously since I heard about the IMF intervention, right? I was concerned that this was some kind of deliberate ploy by them to crash the economy specifically, so that they could then have the IMF have to bail them out, and then for them to say we had to sell the NHS, the IMF told us to. That was my tinfoil hat style conspiracy theory. But as I said previously, the IMF are to the left of this fucking government. The IMF are just like, just don't do the tax cuts. We don't want to give you a bailout. Just stop. Just stop what you're doing.
Lower economic growth.
Well, of course, we've been asking for your questions, and
well, that's a lot louder. Oh, apologies.
I think to say we've had a huge response is an understatement. Over 4,000 comments on Twitter alone. We are going to try and get through as many of your comments as we possibly can. Just a few I'm seeing coming in this morning. Nick says, I'd like her to give a straight answer as to why she doesn't feel Parliament needs to reconvene in this crisis. I'd like her to do it without flannel about energy prices and the Ukraine, but I very much doubt she won't. Also, as well, we've had Graham in Hartlepool who says, how can it be right that I'm working a 45-hour week with a family and currently paying £220 a month in gas and £160 a month electricity? And also my mortgage has gone up by nearly £200 in the last 3 months, plus petrol, plus food, basic living in my overdraft every month. And it's only going to get worse. I have nothing left. I have any kind of life, really. What is she going to do to help? Well, shall we find out now? We are joined by the Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Morning, Prime Minister.
How'd you answer that?
Morning. Thank you for your time this morning. Haven't got long, so we're going to dive straight in. You announced £45 billion in tax cuts last year. There's been economic chaos ever since. What are you doing to fix this mess?
Well, I think we need to first of all remember the situation we were facing going into this winter, which is people were facing fuel bills of up to £6,000, an economic slowdown and very high inflation. And the decisive action we have taken means that no family will be facing a typical fuel bill of more than £2,500, not just for this year, but also next year. We're also helping businesses, and we've also taken decisive action to reduce the tax burden, to make sure we grow the economy, and our energy package also helps reduce inflation by up to 5 points. And it was right to take that immediate action. Otherwise, people will be facing a very, very difficult economic situation this winter.
The thing is, though, people are very, very concerned. I think we'd be right in...
And again, when you look at that, again, that's a great answer, Liz, to the question of why did you borrow the money to implement the energy policy? That would have been an excellent answer, and then she'd have got away scot-free. But that's not the question that was asked. The question is why you announced huge amounts of tax cuts that you didn't need to and fucked over people on benefits for no reason. She's not answered the fucking question yet again. Also, Slippy Tiger in my chat pointing out that I think it was actually this is an Angela Rayner quote from the conference where she said, and now Liz Truss has gone and tanked the pork markets. That is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. A disgrace.
A disgrace.
I wonder if she's going to rebel. That's another thing she did because she's an idiot.
Saying terrified in some parts where we live. We like to put real questions to people there, and we've taken some of those questions. We just want to play you this question. There's a little bit of audio from Diane from Gisborough talking about the cost of living. Take a listen to this.
I've had to sell my house. I've lived there for 25 years, and I know the expense now is getting to the point where I can no longer afford to live there.
You mentioned taking these tax cuts. I mean, that's basically going to be in favour of the wealthiest people. People like Diane, who can no longer afford to live in the house that she's been in for decades. What help do you offer her?
Well, first of all, everybody has been offered help with their fuel bills, and that was our priority because people were facing
she hasn't. She got no house.
And that was the biggest part of the...
Again, we've been through this. No house, no heating bills.
There you go. That's what
her heating bills have been reduced by 100%.
There you go. Liz Truss already making people money.
Exactly.
That's
the economic package that we put forward on Friday.
But can I ask, sorry, can I just interrupt there a moment? How are tax cuts for the wealthiest going to help the people who are nowhere near wealthy? How is that going to help, Diane?
Well, we are cutting taxes across the board because we were facing the highest tax burden on Britain for 70 years, and that was causing a lack of economic growth. And without growth, we don't get the investment, we don't get the jobs we need, which helps local communities right around the country. We're also reversing the increase in national insurance. We're also reducing the basic rate. So we're reducing taxes across the board because the tax...
But it's massively in favour of the very rich. How is that fair? Please answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, even if let's forget fairness. Let's forget the concept of fairness. I was going to go on a rant about the idea, the concept of fairness on my stream later, but I'll probably shelve that for another stream. In that, if we just forget all of that and we just think about in basic terms what is good for the economy in general, right? And as I've said before, you've just announced a huge raft of tax cuts at the same time as asking a huge amount of borrowing to pay people's bills. So you've not only increased aggregate demand, you've also increased the money supply. This is just stupid. Like, you don't have to care about whether there's an equitable distribution of anything. So you can put all of that to one side regardless. Obviously, I believe in your equitable distribution of resources as a position of mine. But if we put that to one side, it just makes everything worse. And she's just like literally just like single digit IQ.
Yeah.
Like, tax burden was too high.
What kind of message would you like to give to people who are struggling in this crisis, who are struggling with their mortgages and are going to be so more after everything that's happened with the mini budget and indeed pensions as well? Lots of confusion and scared people over pensions. They're going to be worthless.
Well, what I'm saying is that the government has taken decisive action to help families and businesses with their energy bills this winter. And we've also...
Listen how defeated she is.
Yeah, she just like, will to live.
Taking action. Like, I feel like honestly, the greatest achievement or the greatest investment we could make and the most humane thing we could do as a nation, have a whip round and send her to fucking Dignitas.
Well, literally, I was like...
It's the only humane thing to... Or pillow. Just pillow merchant, you know?
Well, initially, I mean, the BBC Radio or BBC Sounds on Twitter tweeted out, "What's your question for Liz Truss?" And I was like, "Ever considered a holiday to Switzerland? Perhaps, maybe."
Ridiculous.
Also, somebody in my chat actually pointed out on the pensions front. Actually, amusingly, it just proves all the MMTers right. In that, if you do have an issue with with bond repayments, it's fine. You can just the Bank of England can just save all the pension funds with quantitative easing. The central bank can just do that, and it's fine. Who cares?
Yeah, it's all fake. It's just numbers on a screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, we're never paying this amount of debt back. America's in so many debt. I think they now own all of the zeros in the world just to add on to the end of the debt that they owe to everybody everywhere. It's never getting paid back. It's a complete sham.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
Also taken decisive action to get the economy growing and get Britain moving. And that is what ultimately will help all of us pay our bills.
But what kind of decisive action, Prime Minister? Because your decisive action so far has knocked 40% off people's pensions. So what decisive action are we talking about here?
Literally, if that carries on, a couple of months down the line, they will be literally worthless. If she carries on at this rate, more pensions owners are going to have to start paying banks back. Instead, it's going to be worth minus amount of money.
Negative pension.
Yeah.
That's some real superannuation. That is hyperannuation.
Exactly. I've got a negative pension. I've got an anti-pension.
We are facing a global economic crisis following Putin's appalling war in Ukraine.
Oh, shut the
And what
fuck
I am
up.
about is about making sure that British people are protected from that. First of all, by supporting with their energy bills. And the biggest part of our package on Friday was the energy.
She can't keep saying big package without me doing a dick joke at some point. Like she's tempting it, you know.
But she really is fucking us with her big package, isn't she?
She is, and I'll be honest with you, the package is a little bit too big. It hurts. It hurts a little bit.
Price guarantee. That is the biggest part of what we put in to that mini budget. But also, if we have higher taxes going into difficult economic times, that is likely to lead to a recession.
Right.
And my concern is I want people to...
I think you collapsing the entire economy will also do that.
Yeah, true.
Stay in jobs. I want people to be able to earn higher wages. And that was why it was important that we took action on tax. We're also taking action on getting roads built quicker, getting our broadband rolled out quicker, getting our mobile phone signal working, all of those things.
What's that, sorry?
Does she have a cold? It sounds like she has a cold.
No, she just snorted a fat line, and this is her absolutely buzzing. Like, seriously, she'd be in a fucking coma without this.
I mean, to be fair, she works in Westminster. I'm almost certain fucking 90% of those people are all high off their tits on coke, like 90% of the time.
Yeah, do not touch any of the banknotes in the Westminster area because you will get contact high. Okay, trust me.
100%.
That will help drive economic growth. But as Prime Minister, I have to be prepared to take tough decisions, and that's what I'm prepared to do.
She does sound
these decisions will make sure that we see lower inflation than we would have done. Our energy package is predicted to reduce inflation by 5%, and also make sure that we are seeing the economic growth that we need to sustain our country in the future.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to get this question in because it's something that is very close to us and we are running out of time. Child poverty, lots of questions about that sent in to us on Twitter. Your government has been in charge for 12 years. In that time, child poverty has increased in the North East. What are you doing about that?
Well, the number one thing we need to do to help deal with the issues that families face is to help more people get into work and create those high-paid jobs. And that is exactly what our mini budget is about. It's about getting Britain moving. It's about getting the infrastructure built. And it's about attracting investment around our country, including into the North East.
With what? With no money. There's no fucking money. Like, what do you want? Like, she's just insane. She's just fucking. She's just literally the dumbest prime. She is definitely the dumbest prime minister we've ever had. That's for true. That's 100% great. She's the lowest IQ of any PM that's ever existed for sure at this point.
He must be.
This is just. It's insane. It's literally trying to tell you because again, it literally goes back to people expect public works projects. She does not want to do them, and so but her ideology, like fucking tax cuts go burr, and she can't turn back from it. It's staggeringly incompetent.
Yeah.
We've had lots of questions in about the sea life deaths on the northeast coast. Are you committed to another investigation and really sorting that problem?
I would need to look into that issue, to be honest.
Fuck's
right,
sake.
You haven't already then.
No, I haven't. I know that the environment.
I mean, look, being Prime Minister is difficult. You do have to be across a number of briefs. I understand that. But rarely do you see a prime minister's be like, no, I have not looked into that. I don't care about this issue. Frankly, I would personally go there and drown them myself. Go fuck yourself.
And again, she had a fucking 8 weeks of a leadership campaign to not only build up her policy platform, but also build up a justification for her policy platform to be able to plan for the eventualities of her policy platform. And she had a month of being PM as well to do that. And we've got nothing.
She was
nothing.
Yeah, she was also former Environment Secretary. There's no excuse for them.
Exactly. She's been Environment Secretary, Foreign Secretary, International Trade Secretary. She's been in every which way position she could possibly have been, right? Within cabinet roles, right? I think she's the longest serving person in the cabinet who's currently in the cabinet, right?
Very possibly,
To be fair, this is the same person who mixed up the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea, who mixed up Russia with Ukraine when speaking with fucking Sergei Lavrov.
To be fair, Putin did also do that because he seems to think all of Ukraine is also Russia. So.
That
It's
is true.
Easy mistake to make, I think.
No, that's true. Literally, it was a meeting at which nobody knew what was Ukraine and what was Russia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll be honest with you, not expert cartographers in that room.
Environment Agency are looking at the issues, but I will certainly be raising that with the Environment Secretary.
Right, we've got 10 seconds left. Any message at all you want to leave with our listeners this morning?
Go fuck yourself.
The message I want to leave is we are facing tough times. This is a difficult period for the world, but I am determined to make sure that we support people through this winter and we help boost the economy so that we can deliver jobs and growth right across the country.
You know what this reminds me
for
of?
less than a month, and this morning Liz Truss is live.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Cameron and George Osborne used in 2010, right? We're in tough economic times. There's always this extenuating circumstance for us being the most callous and evil human beings on the face of the fucking planet.
But remember, we're all in this together.
Yeah, literally. But that's the one difference, right? David Cameron at least just tried to put a human face onto it, whereas she's just going, times are really tough. So yeah, you're all fucked, but millionaires gonna get bonuses now. Hey, this is really it. But it's the same thing, where it's like, this faux understanding that nothing can get better, because again, British people continue to fucking internalize this, right? It drives me around the bend. Literally, it's the same people who go, things are bad, well, they were worse when I was growing up, so they can't get better. It's because they know that that's the mindset people are in, so they can feed into that by saying, well, we have to accept that things are worse now, and that's because of situations outside of our control. We're going to make it worse with the things we do have in control, but the fact that exists is outside of our control, so you're all fucked. And then people just go along with it. It's madness.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always drawn back to the quote from Karl Marx about, I'm now quite convinced that the British working class will never achieve anything. And I feel him. 150 years later, we have not changed fundamentally.
Well,
We're
100%,
still
100%.
servile.
We're cucked little bitch boys. That's what we are.
True.
Like this,
on BBC Radio British.
I can't think of a better way to put that. We're cucked to the monarchy. We're cucked to the bourgeois. We're cucked to the fucking neoliberal New Conservative Party. We're the most servile people in the world, as you say.
But we've got Strictly Come Dancing and British Bake Off, so it's fine.
Yeah, we had Platty Jubes.
Platty Jubes.
What about Platty Jubes?
Bristol Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, it's hard to know what has fallen more since you entered Downing Street, the value of the pound or the Tory poll rating, but on a...
Oh, fucking Christ. Knife in the kidneys. That is fucking savage. What's fallen more, your self-worth or the Tory poll ratings? Go fuck yourself, bitch.
On a serious note, no one can deny you entered Downing Street with a difficult job on your hands, but you've made the situation worse so far, haven't you?
Well, let's remember the situation we were facing when I entered Downing Street was that people were facing bills of up to £6,000.
£6,000, £2,500.
We were facing very high inflation and an economic slowdown. And I and the Chancellor have taken decisive action to deal with that. From this weekend, the energy bill price guarantee comes in, so people will be facing no more than £2,500 for a typical energy bill. We've also taken action to reduce our tax burden and spur
but Prime Minister, with respect, that is the same scripted answer you've given to every BBC local radio station this morning.
He was pre-watching. Motherfucker was pre-watching.
You've got the Bank of England stepping in now to try and clean up a mess a government has caused. That has never happened.
We have a very, very difficult economic global situation because of the war that Vladimir Putin has perpetrated in Ukraine. And countries are under pressure around the world.
This isn't Putin. This isn't just about Putin. I mean, your Chancellor on Friday opened up the stable door and spooked the horses so much you can almost see the economy being dragged behind them.
Fucking hell. The economy's now being fucking drawn. She's hung it, she's drawn it, just cut it into 4 bits and stick it on some fucking spikes. It's done.
Yeah, he just fucked it. Just completely fucked it.
She's going to pull out the intestines and cut off the fucking balls and all sorts.
Yeah.
Let's get medieval on this motherfucker.
On delivering financial stability.
That's
exactly
not an answer, Prime Minister. Can you guarantee that people's pensions are safe?
But I want to... Well, the Bank of England...
She won't even answer it. She won't say yes or no.
I just wanted to answer the previous point you were making. This
I don't
is
accept your framing
a
of the planet.
global financial situation. Currencies are under pressure around the world.
Just the pound is under pressure.
Stepped in and taken decisive.
Yeah, if everyone else was under pressure, we wouldn't be falling compared to them. They'd be falling together.
Yeah, compared to
not.
compared to literally every other currency.
Yeah. We were down to $1.03 the other day.
Yeah.
Fucking mental.
It's about the dollar, whether it's the euro, whether it's the krona, whether it's the yuan, whether
the
it's
ruble.
yen, whether it's the
We're falling
yeah,
into the fucking ruble.
Yeah.
How? The ruble isn't worth anything. How can we lose to the ruble? Fucking hell.
I mean, I'm just going to check about the pound versus the bolivar. Let me have a look.
Oh God, are they going to start sending us aid packages from Venezuela?
Or doctors from Cuba?
Yeah, doctors from... Well, they did that in Italy, didn't they? Yeah.
Let's
The
have a
great
look.
capitalist Italy had to fucking accept Cuban doctors during the COVID thing. Yeah, I don't know. Are we collapsing to the bolivar? It wouldn't be surprising.
1 week. Let me have a look. Yeah, we did collapse in comparison. It's rallied a bit, but we are still we are trending down against the bolivar since the 22nd. There was a massive dip, pound versus bolivar, on the 23rd, which was when the budget was announced.
Food. How the fuck can we be falling to a country that doesn't have? Look, I'm not even getting into the complexities of why they don't have food. They don't have food, right? How are we falling compared to that?
Yeah.
This is sabotage. Honestly, this is economic sabotage. Liz Truss is an economic terrorist.
Yeah, well, unironically, right? And again, we all know about which hedge funds benefited and which members of the cabinet had ties to those hedge funds. Funny, isn't it?
And one of her economic advisors is literally being paid by a hedge fund. He's not even a public employee.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not a massive fucking conflict of interest? How is that possibly allowed?
I mean, it is. We all know that it's allowed. We lobbying, we had a whole scandal over it, and everyone just forgot the Owen Patterson stuff. Like, people just don't care.
Yeah, I still can't believe they hired a fucking a company to do shipping that had never done anything and didn't own any ships.
Yeah, failing greatly. Some of my chats are about how, now the Queen's gone, they're raiding the coffers. I'm like, if you really want to save the exchequer, right, you privatise the royal family. I'm down for it. We are the Netflix generation. Put them on a paid subscription. If you're a monarchist, you want to pay a subscription towards the Queen, the King now, sorry. Be my guest. Yeah. Go for it, dude.
Don't forget you can subscribe with Royal Family Prime. All you're going to do is link it up to your Twitch account for free and you give me $5 of King Charles's mono. So, yeah.
on getting the economy growing and also on inflation. Our energy package is expected to reduce inflation by up to 5%.
Well, it's not working so far, is it?
Difficult decisions. Of course, as I've just said, the energy package comes into place this weekend. And what this is about curbing inflation. So it's making inflation less than it otherwise would have been. But this is a global problem. And I think it would be helpful if you did look at the situation in other countries as well.
On energy, yeah, it's bad in other countries, but some would say what's happened and what was announced on Friday made things worse in the UK. Remember, now the cost of borrowing for the UK government is higher for the UK than it is for Italy and Greece at the moment. Bear that in mind. On energy, Dan on Twitter wants me to ask you about small businesses suffering with high energy costs. When will they know more about what support will be on offer after 6 months?
Well, the business secretary is doing some work on that, and that will be, I think, in about 2 months. He will give people more details of how that's.
Thanks, Liz. Just wait 2 months. I mean, it will literally be fucking freezing by that point. People will already literally be frozen corpses in their fucking houses, assuming they've even got houses left at all. But you know, we're on it, guys.
Yeah.
Speedy. Fucking Christ. As if the Bank of England, unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat fuckheads are like the sensible adults in the room now. We're having to rely on these unelected cunts to step in and look, don't listen to the government, they're full of fucking idiots. Like, we're just going to pump loads of money in and just hope it works or something.
Yeah, basically. That's where we're at.
Fucking hell.
Package will work, but we're determined to make sure that small businesses are supported. As I've just said, the majority of the package that we announced...
That's so good. Yeah, a canny move. She won't be there in 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
she's never going to have to fulfill that promise because she won't fucking be there. Brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. Literally.
Fucking hell.
On Friday at the mini budget is about energy support. So on one hand, you're saying you don't like the package, and on the other hand, you're saying people need more energy support. I mean... The reason
I don't think anyone is objecting.
I don't know that she's in a position to be laughing about that. Really,
no,
like that is honest to God. Like, let them eat cake. Just let them eat cake. Oh, they can't afford cake. Well, they can build houses of cake and burn the cake for fuel. Cake.
Prime Minister, to the energy support that you announced, I think what people are worried about is the tax cuts that were announced for the wealthy primarily on Friday, which first of all people think are unfair, because if you're going to have that level of public spending required, shouldn't it be spent in other areas? And secondly, it spooked the markets. Borrowing has shot up. I thought you believed in sound money. I thought you believed in low levels of borrowing. That's what you said when you were part of David Cameron's government. Or have you changed your mind on that, like you did about Brexit?
I do believe in sound money.
Dropping a Brexit U-turn on her. Lovely work.
Would point out that interest rates are going up around the world. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates. This is
What the fuck? Hang on. Remind your viewers to follow. Why is this an alert I'm now getting? This could be a good time to remind your viewers to follow so they can watch your next stream.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I've reminded you. Follow me. Follow No Justice MTG. Follow Liz Truss around with a trombone.
Also,
constantly, that would be very funny.
Also, to remind both audiences, you can give us money if you really want. My memberships on YouTube are currently 99p. If you really want to feel like a commendable non-freeloader.
You cheap bitches.
$5 a month.
$5 a month. Come on.
Global phenomenon. But what we need to do, and we had the highest tax burden for 70 years, and we've reduced taxes across the board. And in a lot of cases, it's simply not raising taxes, as we've done on corporation tax. But what we are doing is we are making sure that taxes are lower, so we attract investment into the economy, and we get those high-paid jobs into the economy. Because as well as facing high inflation, as well as facing high energy prices, we're also facing an economic slowdown. So that is why it's important to have lower taxes across the board, including on national insurance, which affects millions of people.
They're just cutting the tax that they raised.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
You're undoing the damage you previously did.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a proper tax cut. But anyway, as we've said countless times, just no proof that unfunded tax cuts will stimulate growth or invite investment. There's no evidence for this.
So that we get the economy going, so that we get the investment we need to keep people in work and to make sure people get higher wages. That is why we're doing what we're doing.
Prime Minister, thank you. The Prime Minister, Liz Truss, live on BBC Radio Bristol.
Your questions have been coming in to us, and the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, is on John Akers at breakfast on BBC Radio Stoke this morning. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Len, some of these people have
Good
come
morning.
from
Thank
Stoke.
you for coming on with us. We've got loads of questions from listeners to get through, so we're going to get straight to it if that's okay with you. Have you taken the keys to the country and crashed the economy?
What I have done is I've
Some
taken
absolute
decisive
banger
action
opening
to
questions.
deal with a very, very difficult economic situation that we are facing and the world's facing. So if you remember, when I came into Downing Street a few weeks ago, people were facing energy bills of up to £6,000 this winter. We were facing very high inflation. We were facing an economic slowdown. So what we have done is we've taken decisive action on energy. So from this weekend, we've made sure that families are paying no more than £2,500 typical bill.
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm getting actual, like, is it possible? Is cancer? Can you get that from someone speaking on the radio? I feel like her brain cancer is fucking contagious. Possibly, I'm not sure.
Like she's so bad at everything. She somehow managed to create contagious cancer.
She did. Which is lucky that she's now privatising the NHS. So
hey!
If you can afford the brain cancer treatment, good on you. If not,
tough shit.
Again, being dead, no heating bills.
Yeah.
Problem
True.
solved.
True, there you go. Win-win.
On energy this winter and next winter. We've also taken action on tax to reduce the tax burden, to make sure we're avoiding an economic slowdown and attracting investment into our economy. And the energy package will also help reduce inflation by up to 5 points. Now, of course, these are difficult decisions, but the fact is we're facing a very, very difficult international situation following Putin's war in Ukraine.
I understand that, but now people are worried about their mortgages and worried about when their fixed term ends, whether they'll be able to afford a new deal, and that will dwarf any of the savings that you've made doing anything else. You've done this yourself. This isn't to do with external forces. This is about your mini budget and what it's done to the economy.
Oh, for fuck's
interest rates
sake.
are a matter for the Independent Bank of England. And the fact is,
the spaces, the gaps and stuff. Like, to be fair, some of it might be like a lag on the line. You know, communication works that way.
Yeah.
But like, there's so long. It's like a chasm of like ineptitude and stupidity, just echoing out for everyone to fucking hear.
Well,
like,
it's
sad.
Echoing around inside her own empty head.
Like a fucking ping pong ball. Yeah.
100%. Well, I mean, there probably is some lag, but then you got to remember that there's not just a gap. There's also a gap, and then their first few were incredibly slowly trying to. Oh, now I formulated a point, which is also a lie. Like.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention Vladimir Putin yet? Vladimir
Putin. Yeah, it's unprecedented times.
Decisive action.
Yeah. It's like remember back when Keith was doing a bunch of Sir Keith was doing a bunch of like bits and pieces where he continuously said the Tories have come from the moon, like over and over and over again. Like they're both just as I mean, Liz Truss is definitely less charismatic than Sir Keith, but just the level to which have people
I'll be honest
read
with
from
you,
scripts.
Is an achievement. To
It
be less
really is an
charismatic than Keith. Like there are literal stone statues that are more fucking lively than Sir Keith. But she's managed it somehow. Yeah, Dr. Lewis, you're right. Don't be silly, Kev. Only windmill noise causes cancer, which is a lovely callback to a thing Donald Trump actually said.
Yeah.
That in response to the global economic situation, interest rates have been rising around the world. So they've gone up in the United States they're going up in other countries, but they are a matter for the Independent Bank of England here in Britain.
The Bank of England have had to bail out your decisions yesterday. The Bank of England have had to step in. The International Monetary Fund have said that they don't think what you've done is a good idea. Is it time to reverse what you've done, bearing in mind what you've seen over the last few days, the damages caused to the pound?
Well, no, it isn't, because the vast majority, or the majority of the package we announced on Friday, was the support on energy for individuals and businesses. And I think that was absolutely the right thing to do. I think the idea that people are facing fuel bills of £6,000, that companies would be going out of business, it would have been unconscionable to allow that to happen. And
Stop
also
saying unconscionable like you have a conscience. Stop it. It's just a fucking lie again.
Yeah, exactly.
Taxes during a recession or during an economic slowdown would have been a grave mistake. It was the right thing to do. Of course, we face difficult times and the world is facing difficult times. But this government has acted decisively to deal with those issues that people face.
Take a drink.
How will easing the tax burden for people earning hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds help people in Stoke-on-Trent who are wondering whether to...
The entire city of Stoke-on-Trent does not earn that kind of money.
Quite, definitely not Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah.
A hot meal in a night, or to put the heating on?
Well, first of all, we've taken decisive action to help
decisive action,
bills, and that is the majority of this package. And we are reducing taxes and not increasing taxes across the board. We had a 70-year high in terms of the amount of tax
I wish I was 70 years
that the government was taking from people and from businesses. And my concern was that that was stopping economic growth. And ultimately, what economic growth is about is about more investment in places like Stoke.
It's true that we do have like a pretty uniquely high kind of tax burden, but that's what happens when you sell off literally every public asset. If you really wanted to have a strong public sector, which they're telling everyone they do, but obviously they don't because they're all objectivists, right? But if you really wanted to have a strong exchequer and you wanted to be able to fund tax cuts, then have revenue-generating state-owned enterprises that would be able to feed into the exchequer to be able to pay for the public services that everyone expects to come from the government. The only reason why we have a high tax burden is because the exchequer gets no money from anywhere. The only place they get money from is bonds and taxes, because we own nothing. We've sold off everything. This government owns fuck all. What? London North East Railway and TfL. That's it. That's fucking it at this point.
Liz Truss's chances of standing down this year up sharply, odds show. They've slashed the price from 11 to 1 that she will stand down at the start by the end of this year to 7 to 1.
Jesus. Well, apparently, what will happen actually? The article someone else just linked as well is that there's going to be people. Not only is she going to get no confidence letters past the 1922 committee, she's going to get a whole fucking raft of rebels in Commons votes as well. So she might just end up getting so many rebels that her own government collapses in on itself. Like, if you can't pass a budget, that's vote of no confidence territory. Like, not performative votes of no confidence, like a performative, the opposition table it to make the government look bad, but literally her own party voting against her own vote of no confidence in the Commons. If she can't pass a budget, she's fucked. But she probably won't.
Because you can't govern. You basically can't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why they called it a fiscal event, right? Because then they can try and weasel their way through putting some of it through without having to go to the Commons, like devolve it to committee or whatever.
Yeah, they called it. They might as well just do the Putin thing and call it a special financial
operation
activity or whatever.
Yeah.
Is about getting the companies investing, getting those new jobs, getting those wages.
The average,
and that's what people ultimately care about.
The average salary in Stoke-on-Trent is £25,000. Under your tax cuts, the lowest income households will save £22.12. The richest households will gain almost an extra £10,000 a year.
That's fair. That's totally fair. That's
awesome. But that's tax cuts across the board. I've made sure that little Timmy saves 20p. And I've made sure that Jeff Bezos, if they were tax domiciled in the UK, would be saving millions of pounds. So that's across the board. That's how across the board works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's fine. Look. If they didn't want to save more, they should have been. They should have just been richer. Really.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
they decided to be poor and from Stoke. So.
Yeah. Where's the bootstraps? Where's the can-do Chinese spirit that she bangs on about? The Chinese work ethic that comes when your economics advisor literally guts every worker's right in the country.
True. There's the link to the thing, Alexia. Boom. Sorry. Yes.
How is
we're nearly there, people? You've been with us. We've got 6 minutes left. I mean. But how many more times are we going to hear fucking decisive
action? Vladimir Putin.
Fucking kill me in Roblox.
That fair. How are you going to win the seats in Stoke?
I want the average salary in Stoke to go up. My policies are all about making sure
Jeff Bezos moving to Stoke would do that. And if Jeff Bezos moved to Stoke, that would increase the average salary in Stoke. It doesn't make anybody better off, but it does hit that particular metric, Liz. That's a nonsense, Tom. That's complete nonsense. You could just take the value of the exchequer and hand it to one guy. Yeah, fucking pick somebody at random. That would increase the average wage.
I think he probably will move there because I've heard he's a massive Port Vale fan. So I think he probably will be moving to the Stoke area.
A growing and productive economy. And you don't get a growing and productive economy by putting taxes up. That's a reality. Often, you get more revenue with lower taxes because it attracts more growth, it attracts more people.
Oh, God, she's literally just doing the libertarian bullshit now.
I mean, at least she's
straight up libertarian nonsense.
I mean, at least she has now found a second point. She said another thing. It's a stupid and nonsensical and incorrect thing, but it has at least a second point. It's not just Vladimir Putin 2,500. It's also now, if you give rich people more money, world more gooder. Yeah. That's what she now has another point, which is good. Which, like, you can give rich people more money because they definitely won't stash it in the fucking Cayman Islands. They definitely won't make sure that it filters up to some private equity firm in Germany or Hong Kong. Like, that's definitely not what's going to happen.
It's fine. It won't sit in a massive pile next to the Nazi gold in Zurich. It won't. It's fine. Well, it's fine. Yeah. Yes, I did make a Port Vale reference because everyone supports Stoke there. Yeah. I wanted to be a hipster. I could have said Stoke City. I went with Port Vale.
Absolutely.
Sue me.
Work. It attracts more investment.
My Americans
what my
are very
policies
confused.
are about is about delivering for places like Stoke in the long term, delivering the investment, delivering the higher wage jobs. That's what I want to do. And too often tax policy has just been seen as being about distribution. It's not. It's also about how we grow the size of the pie so that everyone can benefit.
Oh, it's just libertarian shite.
And putting our mortgages up.
Oh, nice.
We need to borrow more this winter for the energy crisis that we're facing.
And I think don't do tax cuts because it's dumb. If you need to borrow now, then you can just do the tax cuts later if you really want to. Like, I don't think that she should, right? But if you're just a conservative person who wants to maintain a strong economy but also fuck over poor people, she could do that. But she'd have to wait. She'd have to wait to do that, rather than saying, "I know what sounds better. Let's do that right now after we've committed to £160 billion worth of additional bonds."
But she can't wait because, much like many old people in Britain, her prime ministership will not survive the winter.
I mean, true.
Spend more in mortgage fees under what you've done based on the predictions than we would have saved with energy.
I don't think anybody is arguing that we shouldn't have acted on energy, which is what the majority of the package that we've done is all about. I think it would have been appalling if people were facing energy bills of up to £6,000, and frankly, I'm quite surprised that is being suggested, that we shouldn't have done that.
No,
Now-
nobody is saying you shouldn't have tried to help with the energy thing. We're saying, A, your help is woefully inefficient, or woefully insufficient, but also that the other things you've done are stupid.
Yep. Just yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I've got apologies. I had a text to speech. Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. Shut the fuck up. Apologies.
Clem
Interest
H.
rates, as I've said,
Fandango.
are a matter for the Bank of England.
Clem H. Fandango. It's a thing on the channel. Yeah. Oh no, I showed you the other day. Yeah. You know.
England. The fact is that interest rates are rising around the world, but we made a deliberate decision back in 1997 as a country that politicians shouldn't get involved in setting interest rates.
Sarah Brown from
so-
Lightwood's been in touch with us, Prime Minister, and she says, my question to the Prime Minister would be, what are you going to do about reducing food prices? Everything costs more. I'm struggling to keep food on the table and pay the...
Marcus Rashford can do it.
There you go.
Fuck yeah.
He's part of a big society.
Exactly. Why have a government that would care about the people? Just hope a Premier League footballer takes an interest in a topic, or you're fucked.
Yep, 100%.
Maybe we could get Raheem Sterling to take on multiple sclerosis funding. Who knows? I just chose a random footballer and a random thing.
the bills. I work full-time and I'm close to contacting a food bank to ask for help. Not something I would never have considered 6 months ago. People need real help. So what are you going to do about it, says Sarah.
Fuck all.
So our energy package that we've announced will help reduce overall
You've
inflation.
mentioned the energy package.
By
What
up
else?
by up to 5%. But that will help reduce...
Absolute beast mode. Yeah, you've mentioned that shit. What else? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Other things. Jesus Christ. And it must be really infuriating because you're slapping a journalist in the face when he asks, or he or she, they ask a question, and you just
don't answer.
You not only you don't answer, but you like give a patronising answer that's obviously not acceptable.
Food prices as well, because farmers, people that produce food, have energy going into their production. So it will help reduce prices overall. We're also going to be announcing soon a package to help food producers and farmers be able to deliver more for people.
So many packages. Again, it should be on
reduce the
Pornhub.
red tape on farmers, make sure they're getting the government's full support so they can produce more food at affordable prices.
And Ruth from Lightwood says, a windfall tax on the energy companies? Why won't you do that?
I don't believe that the way we are going to help grow our economy and attract investment is to put arbitrary taxes on companies. That will put off...
It's not arbitrary, is it?
Yeah,
It's very pointed.
It's not arbitrary. The second piece of context, as well as these are companies, people like Centrica, who literally said that they're making more money than they know what to do with. There's a tax on excess profits, not profits that have been earmarked for investments. It's not going to impact any investment because these are excess profits. And then, last of all, people from these companies have said that they wouldn't mind the taxes happening. They've said, yeah, fuck it, we're making money hand over just taxes. That's fine. Let's deal with this. But they're not. It's just monumentally insane. And again, just comes from a place of complete economic ignorance.
People investing in our country. And the fact is that over the last decade, we've had relatively low economic growth. We've had relatively high taxes, and it has not delivered the results that we want it to deliver across the country, which is why we're taking a different approach. Of course, we need to help people with their energy bills this winter and next winter, and that is the majority of the package that we put forward. But we also need to make sure that we are not putting taxes up to such an extent that they're stopping that economic growth and opportunity.
And finally, Stoke-on-Trent got £56 million to level up, but building costs are going up and they're going to need private money to do the things that they want to do. Where's that private money going to come from?
Well, this is what we've just been
talking
about.
Bezos when he moves
By
there.
having an environment that is more attractive for private companies to invest, we will get investment into places like Stoke-on-Trent, which is exactly what I want to deliver as Prime
But also,
Minister.
hang a minute,
But
pause one sec as well. In that, let's also go back in that if she's trying to say we want to encourage further investment, right? Okay, I can understand that premise, even if I disagree with you, the premise behind it regardless. But I can understand that premise. But then you're saying, which means we need to make sure that things are going to be places where people want to invest. So we're going to cut tax on income, which isn't a tax on investment at all. Because income is what people just get paid out as wages for doing work for these companies. The companies don't care how much of their employees' paychecks get taken away. All they care about is how much money that they can generate in profit. So I guess like if you really if this is your role, if you want to cut the tax, probably capital gains tax maybe, but as we discussed previously, even corporation tax, higher corporation tax encourages investment in companies that are already here. So like this cut of the 45% rate of tax, it's just the most economically stupid policy and bad and just like nasty policy you can possibly do.
Yeah, well, it's class war.
Yeah, that's true, 100%.
That's exactly what this is. Be under no illusion. The Tory party of the modern era have been some of the most effective class warriors that Britain has seen in a long time. Mainly building on the back of the fact that Thatcher broke the working class movement.
Yeah, 100%. And Tony Blair continued to kick it to death, as we discussed with that clip from Eddie Dempsey.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Sure.
Putting on arbitrary taxes, then companies don't know where they are. They don't have the confidence to invest in Britain.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for coming on with us this morning.
Thank you.
So that's how Liz Truss's morning went. I hope you have a good day. We will be back with another.
Well, there you go, everybody. That was
quite a slog.
That was fucking torture.
We managed to be fair. We managed to turn an hour of Liz Truss into 3 hours of content. So I think we've done well out of that.
That's a banger. That's lovely work. I mean, I don't know how the fuck you're going to chop this up for the YouTube, but good luck with that.
I'm probably not. I think we called her a cunt a lot, a bit too much.
A bit too much for the YouTubes. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what would I like cut out of this? I might just leave the whole live VOD up because we basically started as soon as I started stream. Yeah.
I don't know how you can chop this up. It's a big undigestible lump of a thing. Yeah.
Well, maybe YouTube will like it in the algorithm. They'll go, "Oh, this is 3 hours of content." If someone wants to like audibly torture themselves to listen to all of it, then we'll make loads of additional revenue from mid-roll ads. So,
the problem is with the YouTube, we weren't racist enough. If we'd been way more racist,
that's true.
I think the algorithm would have loved it. But
yeah,
maybe we could throw in some transphobic shit or something. Steve Crowder seems to do well with the algorithm, so
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you go. I think because we've occupied your time quite enough.
I mean, it's only 11. I mean, I've not been streaming that long. I've had a pretty long day at work, but
exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I'll watch the Labour Files. Maybe I'll watch the Labour Files Part 3. I've got some time left.
Yeah, well, you do that, and I'm going to go eat and sleep.
No problems at all. No worries. I mean, I can turn the Labour Files into a segment because Al Jazeera have allowed me to monetize it for some reason.
Wow, there you go. Thank you, Al Jazeera. That's a strange sentence to say.
Yeah, I understand. Anyway. Right? Yeah, Qatari government based for once in a million.
Yeah. I mean, that's the stop clock being right once every 6 months or something. Yeah.
Every once every back turn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Once for every 1,000, stadium workers killed or something.
Yeah, or once for every new gay person sent to prison.
Fun times. Can't wait for the World Cup to go there. That'll be awesome.
But yeah, FIFA for Pride, or are you no. It is FIFA now. I'm talking nonsense.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Look, FIFA had a pride badge, and that's what more do the gays want?
Exactly, 100%. Well, they've learned now. They've learned that the best way of getting people to talk about the Premier League is to get them angry about the fact that there's a pride flag on the Premier League symbol.
Sure.
It doesn't matter whether they actually care about gay people or not by staging the World Cup at a place where they execute them. I don't know the veracity of that claim, but I'm going to assume they do because I'm a racist.
Well, I see you getting the algorithm boost again. Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people have got to get angry about something to do with the football, and they can't boo the black people kneeling anymore. So they're going to turn on the gays or something. I think.
Exactly.
Okay, everyone go and follow No Justice MTG immediately. Otherwise, I'll knock
Rory
you the
Katz
fuck
will be
out. No, I
sad.
won't, I won't. Yeah, Rory Katz will be sad, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience.
Exactly, 100%.
Okay, thanks for coming on. We'll probably do something next week for the Tory conference or some shit.
Yeah, they'll cover every moment like I can do. If it goes to until Tuesday like the Labour one did, then it'll be good because I've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off work, so I can just talk about it all fucking time.
Oh, binge some Tory conference.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so funny. It's gonna be delicious watching
living the dream.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. Thanks for stopping by and enjoy your evening.
No worries. Likewise. Take care.
Bye bye.